Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Today, we're talking largely about internet safety. I've read that we have access to 98% of the known knowledge of mankind through our devices, laptop, tablet, phone, whatever it may be. How do we access that safely, though, with our children? How do we create a system, an app, a portal that allows them to access it safely with barriers and boundaries? Because if you have kids, you do the absolute best that you can. You're not always there. And sometimes unfettered access, unsupervised access to the internet can lead to really, really dark places. My guest today is Josh Thurman. He is the co-founder and chief operating officer of a company called Angel AI. I am not even going to begin to describe what they do because he does an amazing job. And we actually walk through it in real time, showing it. Before Josh got into the entrepreneurial world, he was a Navy SEAL. He served for 12 plus years, deployed overseas 11 times in the support of the global war on terror. I let him describe his career. It's fascinating to me to see the people, where they come from, why, what they do while they're in, and then what they do afterwards. It's a fascinating story arc to me. It's inspirational. I always leave these conversations thinking, God, I know that I can do more, and I need to. So, before we get into episode 384 with Josh Thurman, let me pay the bills. Today's episode is brought to you by Montana Knife Company. If you have been a fan of the podcast, you've probably heard the episodes I've done with their founder, Josh Smith. This brand, born, bred, raised, and is growing rapidly in Montana, about 100 miles south of where I am. Frenchtown, Montana is where they're currently operating. They're building a massive facility on the western edge of Missoula. So the Montana Knife Company, kind of makes sense where that came from. The state of Montana is also in the logo, but it's a global brand. These are some of the highest quality knives I've ever gotten my hands on. Beyond the fact that Josh is bringing jobs back into Montana, these are American made. I literally have met the people that have made and sharpened these knives for me. This is a family business that is exploding globally. It hasn't changed who they are and what they stand for. Now, they release their knives on Tuesdays and Saturdays. They go very quickly. You can also sign up for their email list or a text notification because sometimes they do surprise drops. Their knives, oftentimes when they do those drops, Tuesdays and Saturdays, will sell out within minutes. I highly recommend actually purchasing something like a sticker on their website so they have your payment information saved. I have literally had at least a half a dozen knives taken out of my shopping cart because I didn't do exactly that. I was putting in my credit card information and they sold out before I could execute the transaction. It's very frustrating. Even though I know Josh, there's nothing that I can do about it. Head over to montanaknifecompany.com. Check out what they have. I have their website in front of me. They have awesome apparel. Their knives, again, are second to none. Some point in their checkout portal, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Do me a favor, put down either Cleared Hot or Andy Stumpf or both. That's the best that you can do to support me. This brand has done nothing but be supportive of the podcast, so that is the best way that you can give back to not only me and the brand. Back to the show.
Okay, got the red smoke. Gun run, north or south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke. Okay, copy, west of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now. Come on with it, baby, give it to me, I need it. You're cleared hot. Copy, cleared hot.
Never been to Montana. Heading back to Nashville after this, where everybody in the United States is currently moving.
That's right.
So you were born and raised near the area where you live?
Yeah, just south of Nashville, a town called Franklin.
How big was Nashville before you left it?
That's a good question. So when I was growing up, so I'm a child of the 80s, it was growing, but the growth really took off in the 90s. So a big milestone for Nashville was getting the Titans. So we had no professional sports teams. We had like the Nashville Sounds, like AAA baseball.
But you probably had like the Country Music Hall of Fame though, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we had the Grand Ole Opry and
Yeah.
a place called Opryland, and which is a theme park. So we got the Titans in like '97. It was this weird, like they were the Oilers for like 2 years while we figured out what we were going to call them.
Okay.
Around 99, 2000, they became the Titans, got the new stadium, won Super Bowl appearance in 2003, pretty awesome with Steve McNair and Eddie George. I don't know if you remember that one, but Kevin Dyson was like 1 yard short of like winning the game. The Rams cornerback tackled him. This is back when Kurt Warner, that was his sort of glory days.
I know some of these names, but I'm going to
Yeah.
be honest, I am not a huge fan of professional sports.
Yeah.
I'm aware they exist.
Yeah.
I would struggle. If somebody put $1 million on the table right now, I would struggle to name 5 names of professional football players.
Yeah, I
that are
only
current.
well, I do love football, and I only know these because it was the Titans, and that was exciting at the time. But so the greater area had like 1 million people at that point. I don't know what the like whole total population is, but like our county, which is just southwest of Nashville, it went from like 60,000 to like about 250,000, which is about 4x growth.
Yeah.
In that period. So yeah, it's changed tremendously.
How much do you think Nashville has grown in that time?
I think it's, I don't know what my hunch is it's probably a 2x of 3x, maybe the whole area. The surrounding area is probably 2+ million now.
It's a cool place to
It's a
visit.
lot. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's
I
fun.
I like coming back here.
Yeah. Yeah, I would too. I mean, I'm jealous of the mountains and the serenity and that, that aspect here, all the outdoor activities. I mean, there's some
Yeah.
good things to do in Nashville, but nothing that touches this.
You guys know you have elk in Tennessee? You could hunt elk in Tennessee.
Really?
I don't
did
know
not
if you
that.
have a mathematical chance of getting a tag,
Yeah.
but there's elk there.
Where? Like in East Tennessee?
I think
Like
so.
in the mountains?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
Didn't know that until a
Yeah.
few months ago, and somebody told me. So I'm just
Yeah.
sharing my shock
Okay,
with
well,
you.
I appreciate that. That's some good info.
Yeah.
Good intel.
Man. So when you left, I mean, obviously you went the Navy pipeline. Why'd you go officer versus enlisted? Who guided you down this path?
Yeah, the answer is no one. Myself.
You too,
Myself.
huh?
Yeah. Man, so, gosh, I really wasn't thinking about the military until 9/11 happened and then the Iraq War kicked off. Those like kind of seminal events are what got me more tuned into like that option or that opportunity.
How old were
And
you at the time?
So I was a junior in college, so about 21 when 9/11 happened.
Had not thought about military at all.
I was not seriously considering it at that point. And let me go back a little bit. I will say the seeds were planted, but we weren't at war. There just wasn't it wasn't super compelling to me at that point to go the military route. But when that happened, it was like, oh man, like our nation's under attack. Our freedom has been compromised. I mean, at that point, you could think about, people coming in and walking to McDonald's and blowing themselves up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that was like a thing that easily could have happened had we not been able to sort of dominate and keep terrorism at bay. But that made it just hit very home for me. Growing up in Franklin, I mean, both my grandparents served in World War II. And I think that's common for a lot of people in our generation. My dad was drafted in Vietnam, but actually didn't see any action, and that probably was a good thing for just how that war went. And then, so my grandfather, he was a really big, like strong guy, 6'4", like probably 250, and played football. He was just someone I idolized and looked up to, and he ran for sheriff in our town. Like everyone knew him. But he was a terrible storyteller, and I just mean like he just wasn't good at communicating, and like a lot of that was. I think
You just start with the punchline.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm going to lead in with. It's going to come around, but I obviously love him to death. He just he had these stories, but I don't know what he did in World War II.
How much did he talk about it?
I mean, almost nothing, almost not at all.
That's super common too of that generation.
For sure it is, and he's not an anomaly there. I do wish he could have, told me some stories. He was in like the North Africa element, and then, but I'll bring that back to one of his good friends who he played football with there at Franklin High. His name was Jimmy Gentry, and he turned out to be Coach Gentry. So he's just a legend in our town. Just last year we've got a statue for him, like on our 5 Points, like in Main Street.
Like full size?
Yeah, it's
That's
a
what I'm
full-size
talking
statue.
about.
Yeah, it's amazing. And he's sitting on a bench and he's looking at the Veterans Memorial, and it's very cool. And where he's sitting, it's the same rock wall where, when guys were going to World War II, they would come and sit on this church rock wall, and they get picked up at the bus and go to boot camp. So that's where he's sitting. But he was a phenomenal storyteller. And through his relationship with my grandfather, I would go to his summer camp. He had this like 400-acre farm. Would bring kids out there, and we'd just go crazy, play capture the flag, swim in the river, and do fun things like that. So, but he would talk about World War II, boot camp, and he was in the Battle of the Bulge. And then his unit, the Rainbow Division, 42nd Infantry, they liberated Dachau on April 29th, 1945. And he talked about that. So all those things, all those stories had been told to me. And so I had a very strong sense of who America was in the world and like what it meant to be a service member. And so when 9/11 happened, all that sort of came back. And I was like, oh, man, I should really be considering this. And so I know that was a long way to come back to this, but that's how I started getting serious. I'm in college, was thinking the pre-med route, and decided, I'm going to start looking into this SEAL thing, and just start doing online research myself.
Why the SEALs? I mean, of all the branches, I mean, there's all something to pick from.
I mean, certainly there's the sort of like playground. I don't know if you remember when people would talk about SEALs on the playground, like how awesome they were.
And on the playground?
Yeah. Like, oh, did you know a Navy SEAL could do this or a Navy SEAL could do that?
Oh, you had a different upbringing than I did.
Yeah.
I didn't hear about any of that shit.
Yeah. No, I mean, it had this like legilegious pull to it. I mean, it really did. And so.
Be careful with playground intel, though.
Yeah, that's right. But that was the it was, I think it was the place where I thought, hey, this is where you can have the most impact. Yeah. And I think these are the best operators in the world. And that's where I want to be.
Okay.
And that Discovery Channel series.
The 234 documentary?
Yes.
Let me just tell you.
Yeah.
What's shown on the 234 documentary and the reality of training, as you know, they're kind of different.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Remember, film crews work for a union, and they have a certain amount of hours that they can be there. The rest of training that you might have skipped out on or rounded the edges on
that's right.
will get caught up on after the film crew leaves.
All of the extra buds. That's exactly right.
I would call it the normal buds.
Yeah.
That maybe the Navy said, let's just not do this on camera. And as an instructor, somebody went back as an instructor. When somebody tells you to do that, what the VIPs coming by or whatever, they want you to modify training in your head as an instructor. All you're thinking is, you guys owe.
Oh,
you owe
for sure. This is more work for me.
Yeah, the debt is coming due.
And you know who's paying it. It's not the cadre. The cadre's not paying it. The students will be paying that.
I mean, the cadre will be physically present, but yeah, we're not paying the debt.
That's right. We will keep going until I get tired.
That 234 documentary, yeah, that was a wild one. I was already in when that came out, and I didn't watch it at the time. I think I watched it years later. Some of it's accurate.
Yeah.
It is what it is. As far as a recruiting tool, probably not bad.
Yeah. I mean, it gave me a picture of it. I read this book. I mean, no one remembers this guy. It was called Warrior Soul. His name is Chuck Farrer. It's like...
Oh, it's like the PFARR.
Yeah. And this is like one of the very first books that I can even... there weren't a lot of Team Guy books back in the early 2000s.
Men with Green Faces.
Yeah.
That was the first one I read.
Yeah. I didn't read that one. I know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all there was.
Yeah.
I mean, I joined, what year did you join?
So I went to OCS in late 2005.
Okay. So I joined in 96 and was looking at it since I was about 11. So in the late 80s.
Okay.
That was about it. There was that and what I thought at the time was a nonfiction Rogue Warrior series. Come to find out, a little bit more fiction than non.
Yeah. What got you into the SEALs? I mean, how did you hear about it?
Man, I've been asked that question so many times, and I still don't have a great answer.
Yeah.
So my dad, who I finally extricated him out of California, he lives like a mile from where we live now, was in, the Mark Vs we used to work with?
Yeah.
Well, he was on the Mark Is in
Oh,
Vietnam.
wow.
So Brown Water Navy. He enlisted. He did not get drafted. He volunteered. I think he probably just assumed he was going to get drafted, so he volunteered. I think he would probably say he thought it was going to give him a better choice as to what path he wanted as opposed to needs of the military. Went over in the Mark Is, and obviously not a SEAL, but the deal, the maritime, they were working with him all the time.
For sure.
He came from a family of Masons in Santa Cruz, California, where I was born. I mean, my dad and I were born in the same hospital.
Wow.
And my great grandfather, it was either my great grandfather or my grandfather built the high school that my dad went to. I mean,
wow.
Some pretty deep ties. It was
Yeah,
hard
for
for me to
sure.
get in trouble there. I mean, he went to, high school and college with the chief of police. So we're going to be okay, on a Friday night.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, you're going to get a ride home in the front of the cop car, not the back.
Yeah.
Or the fire truck.
Yeah.
But he also, to this day, has not talked a lot about his military experience. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's very fair to say that the Vietnam era specifically has been treated substantially differently than the GWAT.
For sure.
And if it was in that era, I don't know how open I would be about my experiences either, given how it was framed, and probably rightfully so, the framing at least, not the treatment. But
Yeah.
I remember the actual car ride when he first brought it up. We were driving back from an area near Aptos, which is just kind of southeast of Santa Cruz along the Half Moon Bay, or not Half Moon Bay, the Monterey Bay. And it was the first time I'd ever heard that term. And it was talking about basically insertion and extraction platforms. And I remember asking him, like, what is a SEAL? And he's like, well, I'm paraphrasing, this is like 40 years ago.
Yeah.
They're the, special operations, or he probably said special forces of the Navy, because he doesn't know shit about Green Berets.
Sure.
Right. No offense to the Green Berets. This is my dad like 40 years ago. Like, they're the special forces.
Yeah.
And it just seemed really interesting. And I remember him saying that not many people make it through, which was interesting to me at that young age.
Yeah.
And that the training was very challenging and arduous. And then I think I found the book First the Men with Green Faces, which at 11, who doesn't want to paint their face green, right? So then that led me to probably the movie Navy SEALs with Charlie Sheen, which I watched at least 1,000 times, thinking that it was going to be exactly what the community was going to be like.
Sure.
It was not. Even though I did get to wear a flight suit doing CQC in my early days, and it was horrendous.
Yeah.
They are
I hate those things.
flame retardant, which also means sweat insulating. They are the worst. A Nomex flight suit in the middle of the summer doing CQC house runs.
That's brutal.
Don't sleep on it. It's a good time. But it hooked me.
Yeah.
I get asked all the time why, and I didn't have an answer then, and I honestly don't have a great answer now. I don't know exactly what it was, but once it got hooked into me, it was as if my true north calibrated in that direction. And I think, my dad didn't have the best experience in Vietnam, and he came from a military family, Navy on my dad's side, Army on my mom's side. Both sides, I feel like we're hoping that generationally the military service would end with them based on their own experience. So when I started heading in that direction, I can only imagine my dad, like, I should have kept my mouth shut.
Yeah, it just takes a little kernel of
And I don't know why.
I mean,
you know the deal. The community that we served with, and I try to tell people this all the time, they're exceptionally average people. I really do. I mean, there were a couple people in my class, and I'm sure there were in yours, that like you look like you're chiseled out of marble, like physical absolute specimens.
yeah.
But if you were to line up an average buds class, most people would go, nah, okay. Some height, some shorties in the Smurf crew, if we're still allowed to call it the Smurf crew.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me the other day, what do they call the tallest boat crew? And I can't remember. Was there a name for him?
Boat Crew 1.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But I don't think they had.
There was no nickname.
Yeah, why are you going to make fun of tall people, right?
Yeah.
Save it for
right. I was Boat Crew 2.
Yeah, save it for the Smurfs. But I know that he would have hoped that it ended with me, but I couldn't think about anything else. And then you get into the community, and that was one of the most common sentiments of the guys that I had served with. But they're very average people in almost every way. Maybe we're tooled a little bit differently. But for whatever reason, that idea, it unlocks this something, and then people just drive down that path. I heard it over and over again as an instructor. I heard it over and over again in the cage rooms, talking with guys, and they're like, I don't know, it's just all I ever wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like, why did it grab us like that, but not other people? I don't have an answer for it.
I mean, the mindset is something that's you can't easily measure, and certainly, and people ask me all the time, hey, what, how do you predict who's gonna make it or not?
Good luck.
Right.
If they would have let us bet as instructors, we'd be broke.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of money that's been spent to try to figure that stuff out, and it still comes down to, well, there's about 20-25% who are going to make it. You really can't tell. They all pass the screener and in theory can do it. and there's some who just absolutely won't quit, and guys who just do extraordinary things, and maybe they don't have incredible gifts. One thing that's like, you have to be competent at everything to be a SEAL. And that's what I tell people. I was like, hey, you have to, what does it take? I'm like, you've got to be comfortable in the water. You have to be comfortable in land. And all these evolutions we do and all the mission sets we have, you have to be able to do all of them at a very competent level. And if there's one thing that you can't do, then you're going to be out. And so you have to be pretty multi-skilled, or like, I think what I've found about SEALs is like, they tend to be able to learn very quickly.
Yeah.
And that is something that really sets, I think, our community apart from others is just how quickly they pick things up.
I would say that's probably soft wide.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I think the community, and that is a skill that has served me well post-military. Mm-hmm. But then I try to reverse engineer that. Is that because people who can learn quickly are drawn to that job, or is that a skill set that we learn along the way? I think both might be true to a degree. But, I mean, something I learned early in my career is if somebody, in this case the military, is going to spend a ton of money to have like world-class fill in the blank, my theory is you do exactly what they tell you to do and no more. And
follow directions.
But literally,
that's
follow directions.
That is not a common skill. Like, people don't do that well.
Follow directions, absent being interrupted or going down a rabbit hole, which I didn't have that option at the time because of the smartphones.
Yeah.
It's I couldn't go to YouTube and type in how do you become a better rock climber or fill in the blank. You would have somebody who'd come to the line who could just smoke everybody on the line with their pistol, and he would talk about exactly what he did. And it's like, why would I add to that? If this guy is literally the best in the world, why do I need to add something to that? You say, put your hand like this every single, like you do that every time? Okay, cool. I'm going to do that every time too. Exactly what they say, nothing more. But if you can do that, I mean, I don't know if there's a skill that would be out of your achievability range if you can grasp onto that. There might be some IQ issues depending on, like, probably not going to design a rocket to go into space because I don't have an understanding of mechanical engineering. But I think I could probably, or most people could learn, if you can grasp onto that headspace, I think you can learn at a rate that's a lot faster.
I think that's right. I mean, I can remember we were doing like helo call for fires, and it was, hey, watch one, do one, teach one. And it was like, whoa, like, I'm going to watch one person do this call for fire, and I have my little script, and then I'm going to go do it, and then I'm going to go teach someone else how to do it, and that's how fast the community moves. I mean, it's extremely high expectations in that regard.
Just read the script, though. Just read the script.
Don't
add words.
Yeah.
Don't take things away either.
Yeah. I can remember we had a break from training a couple of days, like on a weekend. We were out in Utah, and a bunch of guys who'd never been fly fishing went. We had this guy was showing us, and I remember, I mean, guys, in like the guy's like, here you go, and he's doing it, and they like 2 or 3 casts, and guys would get it. And you're like, this guy was blown away. He's like, oh my god, okay, you guys got it, and he just kind of like walks away. It's pretty unreal.
The job rewards being able to perform. If you even look back in BUD/S,
oh, for sure.
First phase, probably not so much. It's like be able to do some pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, and run your ass off.
Yeah.
And more flutter kicks.
Muscle through.
Oh, totally. I mean, that's what first phase is about.
Sure.
Second phase, though, like, we'll give you a whole week to prep for pool comp. A whole week, 2 dives a day. You don't know shit. But you know really well the procedures. That's actually what it was all about. So I taught second phase.
Yeah.
It was all about the procedures. I had to brief the classes, and I don't know if it was in the curriculum, but I would sit them down after pool comp and just tell them, please don't go recreational diving. You guys are idiots. You don't know anything about diving.
Yeah.
That test you just passed might have occurred underwater on open circuit gear, but it had nothing to do with diving. It was all about being able to follow procedure regardless of what's going on around you.
Yeah. No, I remember. So I came through at 260.
Okay.
Yeah. So you were.
Because I proctored 264, so I had just gotten there.
You had just gotten there. Yeah.
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 Yeah. That's the phase where it was a little slower than watch one, do one, teach one.
Yeah.
It took
a little bit slower than that. Yeah.
It took a few classes for the instructors because it's a one-on-one, and you have to know the ins and outs of the test.
Oh, for sure.
And you have to know the gray areas of what you can pass somebody with and what somebody should be failed for from a procedural perspective.
Yeah.
Because and that's pretty heavy too. At that point, if they fail, and they fail twice, they get remediated, and they can pass or take the test again the next day, Thursday, Friday, at least when I was there. They failed that Friday, though, one again twice. They're in front of a board. And it's heavy to sit there and watch somebody who has a performance role already on their fourth attempt at pool comp. You feel like they're performing well, they're a good dude, and then you watch them start fucking up. It's a tough one.
Yeah, no, it's brutal. They've been through Hell Week, got their first phase.
Yeah. Well, this dude's at that point too.
It happens, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, okay, this kid has a performance role. You're not going to get two.
Yeah.
And you're watching him fail pool comp for the fourth time.
That happened to our class OIC. He was a great dude. We all liked him, good leader. And just when it got to the second phase iterations, he ended up getting performance dropped after a couple of, he rolled back a class, but then the same thing happened again.
The butter bars didn't save him.
Yeah, no. Hey, those butter bars, those are a target. It's an absolute target. It doesn't help you at all. Which,
I know.
That's the one thing, that. I mean,
I went
obviously,
through a seaman apprentice stump.
Yeah.
I got to the island, and a third phase instructor pulled me aside within weeks of graduating and said, "Hey, are you part of this class?" I was like, "Fuck yeah, good job." Yeah, there's 0% chance as an O that you're gonna be able to do that. 0% chance
for sure. Yeah, and I mean, it's one thing I love about the community is that it's, as far as I know, the only community in the entire military, probably in the whole world, where the enlisted guys run the training. They're effectively selecting who will be the future leaders of the community, and that's a beautiful thing, and they can. And rightly so, they make it extremely difficult.
Why the O route versus the E route?
Yeah, so you were asking me that.
Actually, let me ask this.
Yeah.
Having gone through your career, if you could go back in time, would you still go the O route?
Oh, man. These are hard questions. So why initially I did it. So I had graduated from college as I'm like talking to the recruiter and figuring that out. And recruiters, their knowledge, particularly about NSW, tends to be like, it's way better now. I'm talking nearly 20 years ago.
Yeah, it was
when there was no, deep program where they had what do they call that now?
Pre-training?
Yeah, I mean they have like.
I heard they shut that down actually. The
really?
pre-training pipeline, and I've also heard that it is either going to be started back up or it was started back up. So for people listening, you would go to, for the path for most people, this pre-training program, or my path was I enlisted. Boot camp at like the fourth week, they literally put in a VHS tape that was a grainy, like dudes coming out of the water, like, fuck yeah. Like, who wants to take the test to do this? Which was a run, swim, push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups. If you passed that, you picked an A school that would allow you to go to BUD/S. You went to the A school, then you went to BUD/S. Then after I was in, it was you could sign up with a contract guaranteeing your spot in BUD/S. You would go boot camp. I think you would get assigned an A school, but at some point you would detach and then go through like this 12-week pre-training program, and then you would go to BUD/S. Actually, you know what? I don't even know if you went to an A school because BUD/S became an A school.
Right. That was around like 2006 when it became an A school.
Yeah.
And you got, there was a SO rate.
Correct.
And that's when I think they started they had this more official like SEAL recruiters who were getting. And it was a billet, and some of these guys were contracted, like they had gotten out of the Navy or retired, and now they're SEALs doing this job. But all that to say, it got a lot better than when I came in.
You know what didn't change during all of that stuff?
What's that?
The attrition rate.
Exactly. that is one number, like you can be like, I heard it when I came in, and like it's not like I check it, I just know that it's true.
The amount of money they spent trying to figure out. I mean, surveys on people's hobbies. They were doing personality tests on people at a time.
The psychology test, yeah.
I am not aware of it bumping or lowering the attrition rate by maybe one single percentage point.
Yeah.
That program will just spit people out. It's a fucking wood chipper.
Yeah, no, for sure. You got to love it. It's one of the only places where, you think about the rest of society. You go to college, maybe you're in, let's say, a med school or law school. These are challenging things to get in. Smart people, ambitious people. The school is not sitting there saying, "We hope you quit, and that's our mission." You know what I mean? Like BUD/S is.
It'd be dope if it was.
Yeah,
doctors with boats on their heads.
It would be. I think it would have a lot better outcome if that was the way it worked.
Yeah.
But
you want to be a brain surgeon? Yeah. What's your fucking O course time? You're out of here.
But just, something that's a little bit more like I love one of the senior leaders in the communities. I love, he says, hey, a perfectly acceptable number is 0 to pass. He hold the standard.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing because, we've seen in our society many places where standards have been compromised, but.
And the results of said compromise of standards.
Exactly.
The results to the tests are really out there for people to look at if they want to.
Yeah.
I don't think you should deviate from the standard.
Yeah, for sure.
It was one of the things when I went back as an instructor, it was really cool. They did not ever expect us to deviate from the standard. I will say the skipper would show up sometimes on a Friday of pool week if there was a large number of students that had failed twice on Thursday. He would attend on the pool deck. I don't know what he thought that was going to do. I think it made the students way more nervous than the instructors. Because quite frankly, the skipper didn't know what the fuck he was looking at anyway. He had gone through pool comp decades before.
Right.
But yeah. So
back to your question on O versus E route. So I had finished college, so it's not knowing a whole lot. It seemed like, well, I've got this degree, I should go the OCS route. And the only person, like even in my town, who wasn't, I talked about like my grandpa, but he's obviously quite old at this point. Someone in my parents' generation, my mom had a friend who was a SWO captain and had just gotten out. And so I go and talk to this guy, and he's awesome, dude. His name's Captain Mark Rogers. And he doesn't know a ton about the SEALs, but he understands generally how the Navy works. And he's like, hey, go to the recruiter, and you're going to want an OCS billet, and figure out how that works. And so I went to the recruiter, and this is worth the sidebar. So the first time I went to the recruiter, I got when I was a senior in college, I got hit by a car on my bike and broke my hip. And this is back. So this is like in the post 9/11 Iraq war's kicking off. So I'm seriously considering now the military. I crutch into the recruiter's office, and they're looking at me like Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, and then I say I want to be a SEAL, and they're just like
on crutches.
Yeah,
Great.
on crutches, and they're going, yeah, this isn't gonna work. And I had this another time. I had this hair kind of like I have now, but even more kind of froed out, and I could hear the guys laughing, saying, "Hey, Goldilocks wants to be a Navy SEAL," like in the background. And that, I will say that sort of steeled my resolve. I'm like, oh, I'm going to prove these guys wrong.
Yeah. No, every time when I was growing up, people would tell me that I wasn't going to make it.
Oh, yeah. That helps so much.
I tell you what, that's also a different kind of person, too, where the negative read. You have kids, right?
Oh, for sure.
I have 2 boys and a girl.
Yeah.
With my boys, I can fuck with them. If I fuck with my daughter like that, it's like throwing water on a fire.
Yeah.
For my boys, it's logs of motivation, and that's the same way it is for me.
Yeah.
Somebody's like, hey, you can't do that. I'm like, really? Let me get some fucking research on, because I'm about to blow your hair back.
Yeah.
And with my daughter, and I made that mistake once early on, and I kind of saw her like shrinking. I was like, oh, fuck. Okay, we got to change tact here.
Yeah.
It's a special kind of person that sees that as motivation.
For sure. And I feel like most SEALs, that is a characteristic probably common to all.
Resoundingly, over the course of my 17 years in, 99.9% negative feedback. As a community.
You're also going to get very candid feedback.
Anytime I got positive feedback, I remember sitting there like, are you fucking with me?
It doesn't happen a lot.
Like, am I in trouble?
Yeah.
Like, you're actually being really nice. What did I do wrong? Fuck. I fucked this up.
Yeah, and it takes a very anti-fragile, non-fragile person to be able to receive that and to take it on and keep trudging ahead.
Have you attempted to give that type of feedback in the civilian world?
I've dabbled with it, and I found that it doesn't work particularly well.
I was going to say I have a full Rolodex of examples of when I've tried it. Results always the same.
Yeah.
People, I've had people in tears. Like, I apologize. That wasn't my intent. I've had people quit. And I've had people just look at me in absolute utter horror and shock and be like, you are the biggest asshole I've ever met. And I'm like, this is just how we talk to each other.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, it's...
It does not. That one is not a multi-tool.
It's not.
Yeah.
Right time, right place, right
Use
person.
with caution.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny to watch. It's one of the things I do a good amount of public speaking, or I have for well over a decade at this point. Mm-hmm. I actually caution people against the SEAL kind of leadership model, leadership culture, because if you don't have the same type of people who went through the same type of course that have the same type of buy-in, you are going to be just throwing people out into space like an atom coming apart. The electrons are just flying off.
Yeah.
It can't be replicated.
Yeah, it works in that situation. You're exactly right. I mean, and I think one skill
I don't tell people it's bad. I just define the very narrow bandwidth that it can work in.
Right.
And I ask them the question, like, if your organization is tooled like this might be good for you. But if your organization is anything other than this, you better be really sparing. I've watched so many guys. And again, I'm not joking. The number of times I have fucked up and used the feedback model that we were just a part of and seen it fail. I watch guys get out of the military, and I think it's why actually a lot of team guys will be like individual entrepreneurs or start their own business with just themselves, because it's so ingrained, and if you can't get it back in check, it is just not accepted in the civilian world.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right.
It's entertaining as fuck, but it's not accepted.
No, I think that's right. I mean, I've transitioning to be an entrepreneur, and obviously you're going to build a team. I've had to be, I think, adaptable would be the word. And I think if you were leaders, one of the things that when you see leaders who can succeed in multiple environments, the trait they have is like they're highly adaptable to recognize, have this high EQ of, hey, what is read the room?
Yeah.
Right. Who is in the room, and how are we going to properly motivate and get the best out of this crew, whoever it may be, whatever that background is. And again, the same tool absolutely does not work. I mean, it doesn't even work at different levels of the teams. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like how you're dealing with new guys versus old, and then when you get to like more advanced, elite levels, the way you operate is just also completely different. And so if you're a leader who like works at those different levels, you've got to adapt through that. And if you can't, like you're just not going to succeed.
It's interesting to see, and I think this is coming to an end a little bit, but for years, people viewed the special operations community, specifically the SEAL community, as if it was a nucleus of only the best leadership in the world. And you would watch people get hired for or approached for a role that, quite frankly, was outside of their capability. They might have been enthusiastic about it, but their enthusiasm outstripped their capability. And I've had this conversation so many times with people because, and I'm sure this is the case for you in your career, you probably worked with good leaders and bad, right?
For sure.
But did you ever have mission failure?
I mean, not abject mission failure, no.
And that's the thing. So people look at the community and they say, well, you guys just keep succeeding and succeeding and succeeding. You must have the best leaders in the world. What they'll never know is that, a platoon or a troop or whatever it is, sometimes they're succeeding in spite of the leader, not because of the leader.
That's, for sure.
But that's invisible to anybody else. Like if we all put it on our dress whites, everybody would say that's a great picture. But let's say you're at a team on the West Coast. You can be like, that guy fucking sucks. But he wears the same uniform and they look the same and they have the same title. And if we go out in the field, two people might be doing the job of that guy and you're going to have mission success. And if that guy's the leader, they're going to say, that's spectacularly the best leader in the world. Like, no, the SEAL community actually masks really poor leadership.
Well,
because the guys
are so good.
Through.
Yeah.
They always pull through.
Yeah. Well, then
that guy gets out of the military, to say the poor leader, goes into a sector and just proper fucks it for everybody else. I've watched doors close behind because they have such a bad taste in their mouth, and they say, probably rightfully so, not again. We're going to turn the faucet off there.
Yeah.
So it's interesting looking back at it now. Some of the best leaders that I ever worked with, and also the worst.
Yeah.
And nobody would ever know the difference.
Yeah, from the outside, for sure not. I mean, the whole be able to do a job one up and one down from you.
Yeah.
I mean, guys are really good at that, and so, and at times I think we would even, we might have weaknesses in the platoon, and the unit covers for those by other guys stepping up, and
then gets in bar fights with the shitbags.
Yeah, and unfortunately you carry. Yeah, that's true. You carry weight. You carry guys along who you probably shouldn't. But you have this intense devotion to them. That's the conflict.
Yeah,
and that's what the community.
But how do you
consistently
explain to the
with.
outside world that both good and bad exists?
Yeah,
It's been a struggle.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all this to say, Captain Rogers, it just seemed like I just sort of wandered into the O route because I had a degree and it seemed like that's what I should do. And I didn't know any SEALs. So no one was giving me sort of ground truth on what that was. And yeah, so that's how I applied for my OCS billet. That was a pretty good application process. It was like a bunch of physical tests. It's like a college applications, essays, and then interviews, and then I got picked up as one of those billets. I actually didn't get picked up my first round, and then reapplied and got it that second round, and so then started OCS December of 2005.
So that's the kind of the officer and a gentleman course.
It is
equivalent.
So, yeah, if you're coming from the you're civilian, you've never had any military experience. I mean, there's 3 ways you can get to be a CLO or just a Navy-O in general. You go to the academy.
Yep.
You do ROTC if your college has a program like that, and those are 4-year deals where the military is paying for your college. Pretty good deal, really good deal. Consider how much college costs. But I paid for college. My parents paid, and but then. If you're just a civilian out there and you've got a degree, there is a route for you, and it's to go to the officer and gentleman, the officer candidate school. When it was in Pensacola, I think it's back in Rhode Island now, but it's run by Marine Corps drill instructors, and they're very professional,
unique.
They're unique. They do a good job, excellent job at what they do, and it's. 12 weeks or so, you get your commission, and then it rolled out to buds.
Straight out to buds.
Yeah.
Man, all right.
So that was the great, the benefit, the great thing in mine was like, it only took me 3 months from getting in the Navy to get to where I wanted to be.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm in 8 weeks in boot camp, another 8 weeks at A school. Of course, this transition time, you got to wait for your school to start. Yeah, that's not a bad way to go. But now looking back.
Yeah.
What would you have done, knowing your career?
Man, that is a really tough one. There's a lot of things in your career so many things you don't control. Like, where you get missions, where you get assigned.
Yeah.
A lot of these things are governed by geopolitics that are obviously way out of your control, and then also needs of the Navy. So many good, you want to be as good and competent as you can be, and have a great reputation so that when good opportunities come, you get chosen for those things. But that's the best you can do in terms of determining your fate.
Well, officers are on this 24-month clock, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Enlisted guys can just tick in if they want to.
Yeah. So man, it's such a tough question. I think I probably would have, if rethinking it, gone enlisted.
Go E for a decade, and then you still got your degree.
Right, because you can rotate up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could have made, get to E6, maybe looking at the chief rab, like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Lateral over, slap some butter bars on, you're good to go.
Yeah.
But it is a different career trajectory. I watched officers come and go. 24 months is literally what it seems like.
Yeah.
For an enlisted guy at a team, you're probably going to do 5 years minimum. And then, over on the East Coast, damn, those guys have been there over a decade. And that just, the O's can kind of bounce in and out, but they're not staying consistently.
Yeah, I think that is a big negative on the officer side of, you can't really stay in that one job. You mentioned 2-year cycle for very long, whereas on the E side, you can work on your skills, get really good at jumping, being a sniper, all these things, and you can work on those consistently. Like if you're an O, you're touching those things, and then you're moving on, and you really don't have any deep skill sets. Obviously, leading SEALs in combat is a skill set in itself, but the hands-on skill sets, you're just touching those things. You're not getting to work on them consistently.
My first pre-9/11 platoon, the LPO, which is leading petty officer, right underneath the headship would be the OIC officer in charge, AOIC, the chief, and then the LPO. So the LPO finishes his tour and probably is going to pick up chief. This dude was on his 10th deployment as an E6. He had gotten in some trouble along the way, so a little bit of up and down the ladder of enlisted ranks.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
that's impossible in the O route.
Oh, for sure it is.
Impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't need to look anything up because I would just go ask him.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, just a fucking Rolodex of information.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, I've done this training exercise 15 times. This is what you guys can expect. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the experience is totally irreplaceable.
Yeah. 10th. Yeah. Still to this day, I'm like, 10th deployment. Okay.
That's a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
How was Buds as an O?
It was, there's several O's going through. I think we had, I want to say 8. So, and I was maybe the most junior one there. So, you're getting scrutiny as an O, but I wasn't up like the class OIC he's getting a lot of scrutiny.
Yeah.
And certainly, I mean, the main things you're focusing on is just surviving the physical challenges that are happening every day.
And head counts.
Yeah, head counts. I mean, there's some real basic stuff you got to figure out. And you're running your boat crew. You've got a collateral, and you're definitely getting the spotlight, on you at various times. And the thing that I've said this before, that I think the thing that helps you get through Buds is like not thinking about yourself. And so if you're in a leadership position, and so you are worried, you're like, hey, how does my boat crew going to perform? Whatever it is, we're doing the rock portage, we're doing boats on our boats that carry, the boat carry on our heads, and just that shift in thinking, I think, really helps, because otherwise, you get in that self-pity spiral if you're thinking about yourself, and that doesn't go well.
No, it does not.
Yeah.
I used to enjoy seeing students in that cycle, and then I would try to just really help them and assist them deeper.
Yes.
It's shocking to me the number of people. It's, somebody, they made me quit. I'm like, I want you to sit with that for a second, and let's really determine who made the decision to quit.
For sure.
Because I've never seen an instructor grab a student's hand and put it on the bell.
Yeah.
Probably because we're not allowed to. But,
For sure.
Nobody makes you quit.
No.
You make the choice. Somebody can drive you to a place where you make that decision, but that's a tough conversation to have with people, because they'll get into those spirals. And it's amazing to see this minigun of excuses just, and it all terminates in ringing the bell 3 times and somebody else's fault. It's like, that's unfortunately not how it works.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing that I, again, love about the community and Buds is there's zero self-pity that is allowed, or and you as an instructor, the time when you start to see it, because we want that rooted out. I mean, you just don't want that in the community at all, and you attack it. So as a student, you don't want to show it, even if maybe your mind might be there.
Sometimes you got to let the students work it out.
Yeah,
like on a Hell Week shift, maybe just let them go do a little bit of a paddle, and they do an oar fight first, and somebody comes in a little battered and bruised and heads towards the bell. There's things you can do as an instructor,
for sure,
and there's things you can hand back over to the class.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wolf pack, and the wolf pack will call out the guys who aren't pulling their weight, and running with the boat on your head or the paddling, those are excellent ways to do that. I mean, we would do that in our boat crew, like
sitting into the side as an instructor and watching the class, because as an instructor, you'd see, especially in Hell Week, because Hell Week is about 5 days long. It's a 24-hour evolution, and so all of the phases have to augment because there's just not enough first phase staff. So I didn't know any of the fucking students, right? It's hundreds of kids, largely. Mm-hmm. So there's no way for me to identify who is really a top performer versus who the class doesn't like. But if you were to sit back and watch, you could find these little nucleus of boat crews doing the job that needed to be done for the instructor staff and the curriculum. The number of students that I watched quit because they were under a boat and they are running, and everybody in their boat crew is like, fuck you, Bob. Like, you need to quit. And I've watched boat crews push people out.
It's brutal.
Push people out from under the boat. And then the dude's just like, they start like really enthusiastically chasing the boat, and then they slow down, and then they walk, and then the truck pulls up with the bell.
It's brutal. We did that on Wednesday night. It was the middle of the night, and we were on west side of the base there, just doing like base tour, I think.
Yeah.
And so boats on head, you're running from place to place. It's a race. Everything's a race.
It's not the tour you guys think it is. It's
Yeah.
not postcards. it's like you said, the middle of the fucking night.
The irony of that statement.
Oh, totally.
You
It is what they
you
call
haven't
it, though.
slept in 3.5, 4 days at this point. And yeah, we had a guy just, I think he was hurt to some degree, but just absolutely couldn't stay with us. And it was kind of like, hey, are we going to like keep running at this pace? And I'm like, no, we're not going to keep running at this pace. And I don't want to, this is a good guy, I ended up making it later. But I don't want that to be the focus, but we took off and now, so we normally have 6 guys, in your boat crew. That's like the standard. And sometimes you get more or less, but now we had 5 and all of a sudden we're winning like big time. And it was awesome because like we got to the next station and the instructor cadres are like, how did you guys get here so fast? And they're like, hey, guess what? On the next one, you guys don't have to carry the boat. You can just run. And we're like, oh man. So guess what? And Buds reinforces this too. It's like, it pays to be a winner
Every time.
because then, hey, your life gets easier. That's true in life.
Yeah.
You crush things, you prepare, and your life gets easier. You don't prepare, life gets harder.
Yeah.
You don't do a great job, everything gets harder. So,
Yeah, it was wild to see the students self-selecting.
yeah,
And a lot of the times, another really interesting facet of being an instructor is you spend a lot of time with people who quit. Because as a student, I mean, my class, we had 180 first day, 18 originals graduated. I have no idea where they went. Because you're running to breakfast and you're talking to Bob, and at lunch, Bob's not there, and I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Because I'm on my journey and Bob is now on his journey.
right.
Well, as an instructor, you get to sit there and you get to talk with them. And they're in a pretty emotionally compromised state, and I was always very kind because I was more curious about why.
Yeah.
What got you
There's
to
no
that?
reason to shit on them.
You don't need to. They already feel bad
Yeah.
enough. But
Yeah.
they're in a place where they were really open and honest about
Yeah.
why they made the decision that they did. And it was fascinating case study in why people give up on, because most students would tell you this is my lifelong goal. This is what I want more than anything in life. If you canvass the class, like, hey, by a show of hands, how many people are going to be here on graduation day? Every fucking hand goes up.
Sure.
Every single one. And where'd y'all go? You know,
Yeah.
where'd y'all go? But to see the students kind of being even an additional pressure vice on top of the curriculum itself, weeding out what is invisible, because as the instructor staff, we see too many students to have the inner dynamics of what's going on.
Yeah.
And then I would talk with some of the students about, if I saw a boat crew do that, spit a guy out, I would often try to get some time with members of that boat crew to understand why. They were shockingly unwilling to give me information most times.
Yeah.
Because they thought
you are like the enemy.
yes. They thought I was going to use it against them, which
Sure.
for clarity, 100% was probably going to.
Yeah.
And I also wasn't a student too, so I totally got it.
Yeah.
But it was fascinating. A lot of the times, it wasn't even necessarily performance driven. They just hated the person. It was personality based, and the personality conflicts were occurring in times where the instructors weren't around, like the
Yeah.
weekends.
Yeah.
When somebody was a shitbag away from the instructors, because people think that Buds is 182 days and it's 24/7. It's completely not. Hell
Right.
Week is 5 days of pretty consistent kicking the dick. But you get your weekends off, other than on the island in San
Right.
Clemente. But even then, you can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. So if I could get the boat crews to open up a little bit, it was fascinating to hear why that person was the one that they ejected out. And it almost never had anything to do with physical performance.
Yeah, that's
It was trust.
that's really good insight.
It
That's right.
was a violation of trust more than anything,
yeah.
which was wild
Right.
to see it physically expressed that way.
Yeah, it goes back to the wolf pack. It's not just can you do the job, like do we trust you? Do we want you to be on our team? Are you going to do things that represent us well? Like all those things, and that's the 360 of your life. It's not just I show up at work and do those things. And there's very few. I mean, almost nowhere else where that's the case, where those things matter so much. With there are some crazy. It's crazy sometimes who quits. I mean, so you have guys who come to Buds, 2, 3. I mean, sometimes maybe 4 times.
Another misconception people don't realize.
Yeah.
They think it's a one and done.
Yes,
And that's definitely not the case.
right. It is for O's, right? You only get one shot for O's, and then
As it should be. They're
yeah,
shitbags.
for sure. Yeah, they should be. Yeah, and then for enlisted guys, they might come back and they've done buds and they know buds. You know what I mean? So a lot of times they get in like a leadership position because they know so much about what's coming.
Yeah.
And so as a student, you perceive, oh, this person is squared away. They have their shit together and they know what's going on. So I'm going to listen to them. And then we had a guy who's performing extremely well, seemed to know everything. I didn't know his full backstory, but I knew he'd been to buds at least once. And within hours of the chaos that starts Hell Week, the guy quit. And I just remember being blown away at why this individual would have quit, because he seemed to be as knowledgeable and as capable as anyone in the whole class.
Did it induce other people to quit as well?
I don't remember that specific one, but in general, there is a herd sort of thing that happens.
What you just described is so eerily similar to what happened in my class too.
Yeah.
So he was not a Hell Week rollback, but he made it to Tuesday midday-ish.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm giving away any inside baseball. If you can make it to Wednesday, Thursday, they might roll you forward. It is not uncommon to have a medical injury and be rolled forward into Hell Week, meaning you'll get your brown shirt designating you've been through Hell Week. But for a class of people that hasn't gone into Hell Week at all and we don't know what to expect, this dude was the burning bush, right? Everything. This is what's going to happen. This is how you should mentally approach it. This is what you should prepare for. Mm-hmm. My class, and I don't know if this happened because it was just scheduled to happen or that they absolutely hated us because they fucking hated my class.
Yeah.
We did not get a breakout for Hell Week. They put us out in the tents on the beach, and we were watching pizza or watching a movie, ate pizza, whatever, on the Sunday, and we go out there, and you're ready for the M60 fire and the smoke grenades.
Yeah.
And you just hear, hit the surf. And I was in like the northernmost tent, and they were down more by the southern one.
Yeah.
So we watched. We were like peering through the tent.
Yeah. Do I have to go out there? How long can I sit here?
Yeah, well, the week's coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
But so we nursed another 20, 30 seconds.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
So we opened Hell Week with a good, probably 2-hour surf torture evolution.
That's a good one.
Surf immersion is what they call it now.
Sure.
Yeah. And this particular individual, I'm going to say, and this is again through decades of looking back, I'm going to say within the first 2 hours, he ejected.
Wow.
And the number of people that followed him because of I'm making a guess here a little bit, but because of how they viewed him and what they thought he was capable of, if this dude's throwing the towel in now, what chance do I have?
Yeah.
Be careful.
It's contagious.
Be careful of the stories you tell yourself.
Yeah.
I think it actually nerded the instructors out a little bit. I mean, there was a symphony of fucking bells going on. Ding, diddle, ding, diddle, ding, ding, ding. Like, we were playing jingle bells out there.
Wow.
And it was wild. That one person, the burning bush, was the first dude to go.
That's crazy. Yeah. We had another crazy one. So post Hell Week, we come back. I think it was like the very first day back.
During walk week?
Yeah, it was during walk week. And before we even, you class up, I mean, guys can barely walk at this point for those listening, like after Hell Week. I mean, you're super chafed. You're moving around like you're 90. Yeah. It's like you look like you're 90 years old. I mean, that in terms of how you're moving. But you're getting into this walk week, and I remember we're mustering. It's still like 5 a.m, 4:30, something's like super early. But our LPO is like nowhere to be found, and it's like, oh man, like what's going on? And OIC is trying to find him, whatever. And he got up that morning, the first day after Hell Week, and went and rang the bell. I mean, everyone was shocked.
He went through all of that just to ring the bell?
Yes. I mean, it's like we just had the weekend. Like, you just recovered. Like, what happened? And I don't know. I didn't talk to the guy after. What some guys had said, it just, I think he got, there was some emotional elements of like, he saw his kids, he'd been in the fleet and afterwards, and like, he hadn't seen them in a long time. And then, I don't know, he just got into this bad spiral. And it was, I don't know if that's ever happened at Buds. I mean, It would be like, how like basically no one quits on a Friday.
Yeah.
I mean, in general, that's not always true, but
Well, that's why you always
mostly
tell
true.
the students it's Thursday.
Yeah. But I mean, to quit after Hell Week is like, wow, like
Especially that close to that.
you had to get in bad place.
I support
Yeah.
it. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'd rather have it. You think you're in a bad place after Hell Week? Fucking stand by.
Yeah.
Because it gets a whole lot worse for
sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't believe the instructors when they said you're going to be colder after buds or more tired. I'm sitting there looking at them. I said nothing. I just was like, "Hoo-yah, instructor,
Yeah.
whatever." In my
Yeah,
head,
right.
In my
Yeah,
head, I'm
that's
like,
how- yeah,
in
sure,
my head, I'm
you're-
like, "You're
surely
a
that's not
fucking
true."
liar. You're a liar."
Yeah.
And then was way colder after training and way more tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the coldest you were ever after?
The fucking desert in Afghanistan.
Whoa. I would not have guessed that one.
Well, in the summer, when you
Yeah.
get the temperature swing, and if you're busting your ass during the day, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden the temperature goes off a cliff,
Yeah.
and sometimes you pack warmy, sometimes you don't, because you think
Yeah.
you're going to be back in a day,
Right.
And you're not because the weather rolls in, and then you're real cold.
Yeah.
Probably
Gosh.
wasn't as cold, to be honest, as the immersion in the ocean, in San Diego, but it felt like it for sure.
Yeah.
Deserts, man, they'll crush you. They can have 100-degree temperature swings.
Yeah. No, that is brutal.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like probably Kodiak was probably the coldest. Afterwards, doing the bullshit like, let's do an OTB in our dry suits because it's 1999 and like fuck it, this is what everybody did before us. So
Yeah.
I was beaten as a child, so I have to beat you since you're my child.
I doing OTBs in Alaska. I learned a real hard lesson.
Yeah, stands for over the beach for people listening. Yeah,
We're right before we realized we didn't have, a signal that we were going to use, and I'm running around trying to find this thing, and then I go and take a leak like in the bushes before we like get on the boat and roll out there. Forget to zip up the full zip on the
Strong.
the crotch zipper. So
Yeah.
get in. This water's basically it's freezing. It's not freezing because it's salt water and it's moving, and so it felt like needles in my legs. I'm like, oh, this is like pretty cold. I'm like kicking it in, trying to walk across the beach. And I must have had 100+ pounds of water in this suit.
yeah, full Michelin man.
Yeah, and this is SQT, so I'm trying to I don't want to let the instructors know that I've been a total moron, and so I'm like sloshing it, and we go and change out, and I'm doing 8-count bodybuilders while everyone's changing out, so I don't hype out, and that hasn't happened to me again. So you can
The painful lessons. are the-
self-taught.
Yeah.
natural consequences.
Looking back through SQT and buds, what do you think the most important? Actually, let's just go on buds. What do you think is the most important lesson you took from that as a person, or is there one to be gained from there? Or is it just a wood chipper?
So for me, gosh, I think it exposed some immaturity in myself, and so got through first phase, did fine, did well in all the physical evolutions, had a good boat crew liked me, and vice versa, and that worked well. When I got to second phase, so as an officer, you have probably like 3 core things that you've got to do. One of them is you need to be an excellent tactical leader in terms of being a ground force commander. Like that's what your job is out in the field. That's your core job. Outside of that, very important, you've got to be able to take care of your guys. Hugely important. And then the other thing is you need to be able to basically sell and promote your element, right? And so of those things, like taking care of the guys, to be able to take care of them, you need to have good relationships with them. And so I had a number of friends in first phase, and so when I rolled into second phase, between getting rolled and whatnot, several of those went away, and I didn't reinvest in like more friendships. I got a little isolated, a little, everyone's in that fatigue state of like
Yeah.
post Hell Week, and I didn't put myself out there like I should have, and so that got me in a bad place with the class, and having to battle through that, and then go into third phase, and I had a lot of eyeballs on me, like, hey, the OIC, the face is like, hey, the class is basically indicating that they don't like you as a leader, and having to battle through that, demonstrate my confidence, regain their trust, and then go on to excel. I mean, that was incredibly difficult. And like, you do not want to be, I mean, again, in the wolf pack, you do not want to be on the edge. Like,
No.
you absolutely want to be at the lead, or at very least in the solidly in the center of this pack. And that's your whole life. I mean, it absolutely is. And so, working through that, you don't want that to happen. I wish I'd been more mature and could have figured those things out ahead of time. I'm glad it happened very early, because then it set me on, and I was able to learn from it pretty quickly. And by SQT, had completely turned things around in a very positive way.
Well, you get a clean slate after buds. It's kind of, it's
And
a little
that was-
bit, it's
that was-
truncated.
That was
a little
beautiful
bit.
to have a clean slate. And the officers go to, after buds, you separate from your class, you go to new class because you go to the junior. So we went to
JOTC?
junior officer training. And that's, I can't remember, I want to say about 3 months or so. Well, I get 3-4 months. But then you pick up a new class, and those guys typically don't know you. And like, everyone has some sort of problems in buds. No one's like, oh, I crushed the whole thing. You know what I mean? And so you're very happy to get a new slate. And once I did, I took took advantage of it. So, I mean, my biggest lesson was just getting through that immaturity and recognizing, like, how important those relationships are, and continue to invest in those. So, and then that set me up for success the rest of my career.
It's another interesting misconception, I think, is that people feel like it's like this homogenous organization where everybody has exactly the same beliefs.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I serve with people. I mean, I legitimately serve with people who were the Silver Spoon kids and straight up shooting dinner with a BB gun in like the deep woods of Arkansas and everything in between. And I would say the military and the SEAL community probably trends right of center politically. But I certainly serve with people who were on the left, or support staff, or we don't all the structure that makes it possible. It's people think that leadership, like SEAL community, it's you have the perfect team and you plan the perfect mission and it always goes well. And I'm just looking like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
It is. I mean, gosh, it's a beautiful thing about the community of like what binds this group of men together. And it's the mission. I mean, that's what it is.
It's the buy-in to the mission,
for
the
sure.
greater mission. Yeah,
because we talk about diversity. I mean, massively diverse backgrounds of exactly what you just explained. I can remember a beatdown where this is
training session. In
we're doing extra butts for screwing something up. We deserve
remediation is the term they required us to use.
We deserved it for sure. There'd been sort of a snap room inspection, and some of the we were pretty. I mean, it's like third phase, so you don't expect necessarily the room inspection at that point, but it happens. And some of the cadre out there, we're in the leaning rest, and they're trying to make a point like, who here grew up in a trailer park, and everyone's looking around, like 2 or 3 guys like raise their hand, and the instructor's all just like, oh shit, I don't know what's he's like, okay, well, you shouldn't leave your rooms dirty, He's like, no, he's trying to make some point that like, you guys didn't know how to take care of your place or something like that. And it's like, hey, there's guys from all sort of socioeconomic backgrounds, Ivy League schools, and it's awesome.
Devoutly religious, complete and utter savage walking planet Earth, everything in between.
Yeah. One of the best speeches, I mean, in my life that I've ever heard is I had checked into buds. When you check in, you're in like this holding phase. We were just training, waiting to class up, and the OIC gives this very short speech where he's like, hey, everyone who's new here, hey, no one gives a shit that you were the man in high school, that you were the king of the prom, or the captain of your football team. It all starts here. And that's all he said, and I just remember being like, "Oh, that was awesome."
Yeah.
And you saw guys who like were those things, and they were kind of like, everyone's like, "Oh, shit!" Like, I mean, everywhere you go, you always are taking in most of everywhere else in life, like you are somebody it's so and so's son, or I did this before, or whatever. Like, when you get there, it's like, I mean, none of that stuff matters. No one goes, well, this guy was, captain of baseball team. So let's give him a pass. Like that doesn't happen at all.
Stays at the door.
And not only that, I mean, it doesn't even get brought up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome if it did. I would have some choice feedback words.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where'd your career take you after Buds?
So then,
What'd you put in your dream sheet?
yeah. So yeah. Okay.
Fucking dream sheet.
So
I ask everybody this too.
going through SQT, I put in East Coast, and this is because I'm from Tennessee. I was thinking, well, maybe I can like pop home a little bit easier from the East Coast, and that's what I put in. And then a couple months later, I was like, oh, that was dumb. Like the West Coast, I'm loving in San Diego, and I'm not sure it's actually that much easier. And so then I went and changed it, and that was, I had no idea this was going to happen, but it ended up being like a very good thing. So I ended up getting assigned to, a West Coast team. And then,
I was not aware you could change your dream sheet.
well, it wasn't.
This must be the officer privilege. This is Bud's officer privilege.
Yeah, exactly.
Because E2, Andy, they're like, we actually shredded your paper right after we gave it to you because that's a fucking joke. You're going where the Navy needs you.
Yeah, that's right. So I rolled it to like admin that was like just off. I can't remember who was running it. This lady who was running it, and I think she was a civilian, she was not particularly happy that I wanted to do this, but she let it happen. And so the way it turned out, when I graduated SQT, got my trident and get assigned to my West Coast team.
Today's episode is brought to you by Element. It's spelled LMNT like it is on the can. Don't be afraid to just say Element. What is it? It is electrolytes. I'm going to read right off of one of these little satchels that they have. You can hear this. 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium. There's a couple ways that you can get this. You have these little sachets right here that I travel with. I keep them everywhere. I'm getting ready to go to Costa Rica for my wife's jiu-jitsu seminar. I have an entire Ziploc full of these. I rely upon them. And now they have the sparkling water. 16 ounces, exactly the same thing. 1,260, a variety of flavors. I might be giving you some inside tea as well, but they just got a packet of lemonade salt at my house. I made it. It tastes exactly like lemonade, but it provides exactly the 1,260. I don't think it's for sale yet, but it's coming down the pipe. So prepare yourself for that. Do not sleep on your hydration and electrolytes. I did for a long time, and it sucks. I distinctly remember when Rob Wolf, one of the co-founders, introduced me to this product, how I felt before using this product and how I felt after. For me, it was jiu-jitsu. 2 hours, an hour of class, an hour of open mat, and feeling like an absolute drain battery afterwards, or slamming one of these packets in a water. And I'm not going to say you could feel the energy coursing through your veins, but you could almost feel the energy coursing through your veins. It made a huge difference on my productivity and recovery for the remainder of the day. Element is the go-to electrolyte drink trusted by many of the world's leading health experts and athletes, including Team USA, weightlifting, coaches, health practitioners, and teams across professional, collegiate, and high school sport leagues. They have a no-hassle return policy that is almost never used, so no questions asked. If you don't like it, send it back. They have sample packs so you can try everything. They make spicy salts so you could put them in margaritas, if you will. They make chocolate salts that you could put in coffee. They have you covered from an electrolyte perspective. Head on over to drinklmnt.com/clearedhot. That is drink, DRINK, LMNT.com/clearedhot. And you're going to get a free Element sample pack with any purchase. Again, at drinklmnt.com/clearedhot. Don't sleep on the sparkling. This stuff is actually really, really good. Convenient. Throw it in your bag. 16-ounce can of sparkling electrolyte water. Go check it out. Feel the energy coursing through your veins. Back to the show.
Because I switched, I missed all of the the workup where you go to the schools and like do all the schools. So what was
pro dev?
Yeah,
Professional
development piece. Yeah. So what was positive about that was I immediately jump into like the workup to train with the platoon, and so it put me like just 6 months kind of ahead of like the other guys who I graduated with, which because officers don't tend to. I would have loved to gone to the schools, but the schools aren't really part of your core job. You know, it's things that again the deep skills that you're not going to be necessarily utilizing. So that ended up being like a great thing. And so then you're a new guy at the team
forever.
Yeah.
When did you finally deploy overseas the first time?
So it was about 2 years after SQT. and this is like the late aughts. I guess it was 2008. We went over to, we're out west in Iraq, and yeah, that was interesting. Going first time overseas, get off the plane, and this is when we had the RGs had just gotten, the big armored vehicles. So get in those things and, driving very fast on the opposite side of the road is like, oh, this is the real deal. We're trying not to get IED'd right now and trying not to get shot at. And, yeah.
How'd your career progress from there?
So, did that rotation, and then
Pull that mic a little closer.
Yeah. Sorry,
you're good.
Did that?
Take it with you when you lean back. Look at this.
Oh man, it's good. Did that rotation, and then volunteered to go over to Afghanistan right after that. We had just been back a few months, and we're going to go support another unit. Did that for like a 3-month deployment, and then which was an amazing pro dev, and then stayed at Team 5. That was also a good deal. So I got basically I ended up doing 3 deployments like almost back to back, and then all in the like assistant platoon commander or 3rd role, which is a great place to learn a lot. Without having a ton of responsibility. And so, so then finished there, and then ended up going East Coast after that, and just did my platoon commander, troop commander, did some ops roles, and ended up getting out 2018.
When did you start thinking about getting out?
Wow. So
you retired or got out, you did 12 years. So is that probably 04 knocking on 05?
Yeah. So I was just going to take the XO billet.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd picked that billet up, and let's see. So I met my wife, she wasn't my wife at the time, but in 2011, and then we ended up getting married in 14, and we wanted to have a big family. And so we ended up, having a kid right out of the gate. My oldest daughter, who's about 10 now, or no, sorry, she is 10. She's 10 now. And being on that sort of intense operational cycle from like 14 to 18 in a troop commander role, it was just, honestly, it was just a lot of conflict in the home over, hey, we had our second son during that time period as well. And it was one of those deals where, let me back up a little bit. So my first daughter, I was deployed to Colombia, right? It was right in the middle. I didn't love the way it was handled by leadership. It was like, you might get to go home kind of situation. And I felt like just given the state of the mission and like what was going on, it would have been reasonable to do so. But it turned out I was a platoon commander at the time. My troop commander really stepped up for me big time. I mean, I remember, so my wife went into early labor. I know this, and I'm like, okay, like it was one of those, was the baby coming or not? Which is not a fair question to ask your wife who's going into early labor.
I mean, you can ask it.
Yeah.
It'll never be forgotten.
That's right. You can ask it.
You can ask whatever you want. There's just people, First Amendment, like, the freedom of speech does not free you from the consequences of your speech.
That's right. Goodness. So I'm informing my leadership, hey, this is what's going on. She's seems to be in labor, but it's early. It could be a false labor. I don't know. And my troop commander a few hours later calls me, and he this is the conversation. He goes, "Hey, your wife's having the baby," and like, I mean, it was jarring to me. I go, it was like, you're like, you see in the movies, like when the wife's water breaks over, the man like starts freaking out. I was like, "What? Are you? She is? Okay." And like that's how I responded. I'm like, he's like, "Get on that plane," and then he hangs up. And I was, my thought was like, are you sure it's okay? Like I wanted to be like, do I have to, So then he basically just was like, hey, you're going, and I'm gonna make sure it's okay. And so I got home. My wife didn't have our daughter at that point, and so I ended up getting to stay with her a week or two, have our baby. But I've got to leave a week after that. going our second child, had him, and then had to do a deploy for purpose where, go into work and then gone for several weeks without contact. And those things, they're hard on a relationship for sure. So anyway, so that's all that to say, if you can't make it work at home, I mean, what's the point? I mean, that was my thing. It's like, hey, everyone's getting out. It's like, when and on what terms? And so it's not something I really wanted to do. I had built up, when you've built up like just your reputation and like the amount of time you've spent to building, hey, how far you've gotten in your career. And I was at the top of my game, just post troop commander, getting ready to take an XO spot. But I was like, hey, this, going to end up either divorced or with like terrible relationship with my wife and probably my kids. And that wasn't a place I wanted to be. So we punched. So
what were you looking at doing professionally? Did you have any idea what you were going to do next?
So I did have, I'd always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I mean, even before going into the military. So that was something that I was looking forward to. And so I was excited about that opportunity, for all the goodness of the military. It is a bureaucracy. You just got to climb the ladder. Like over time, you can't skip any steps.
Yeah.
And what I like about being an entrepreneur is you can build something great in a relatively short amount of time. And like, it's really all on you in terms of like how to, you're competing in the free market and there's no steps to climb other than you've got to excel. But, so that's what I, transitioned into is, starting, running businesses and obviously got to where I'm with Angel Q now.
The idea of being an entrepreneur and the reality of being an entrepreneur. I'm going to get out and I'm going to build stuff. Very easy to say.
It's brutal.
Where did you start? Like, what was the first thing that you built? What was you're like, okay, cool. Next chapter of life.
Yeah, it was, I remember, so we got out in...
Entrepreneur sounds great in the movies.
It does.
Number of entrepreneurs that I know, full gray hair at the age of like 35.
I know. So we get out. This is in the springtime. Come back home to Franklin. We'd gotten a house and trying to settle in there. In my mind, I imagined, oh man, I've saved up a little money. We've been hitting it so hard for so many years. I'm gonna like go learn how to play golf for 6 months, and everything's gonna be like, bright, rainbows and butterflies. And I remember very quickly just all of a sudden not having like a mission and purpose and drive was like, it became terrifying pretty quickly.
Yep.
And so I rapidly shit canned the like getting good at golf plan and was like, I got to figure out what I'm doing the rest of my life. And that is not an easy thing to kind of sort through.
Yeah.
But the guiding principle for me is like, I was watching the tech world explode like while we were in the military. And so that was very appealing to me. I was like, okay, that's where I've got to get. But I knew very, very little about tech other than I was sort of forward leaning in the platoon and the troop on trying to integrate new technologies, test things out and bring those, to our community. But it's not like you're developing software and, you're the end user of that stuff and you can kind of guide how it's built. Sort of like a product owner, I suppose, but it's not like you're building it. And so I just knew I needed to get in tech. And I mean, this is crazy. I remember did you do the TAPS class? Like when you get out of the military and it's like a 2-week thing that they pretty much force you to go to?
All of the signatures on my TAPS paperwork were there.
Yeah. So I appreciate that. I wish I did the same. But I can remember in that class reading about how like the cloud was taking off. I was like, this seems like a good opportunity. And then when I got out, a friend of mine, an old family friend who was very bright technically, had run the AI lab at like San Diego State. He had started this business to create this distributed cloud. I was like, this sounds awesome and maybe extremely lucrative. And so we linked up, started that, raised a little bit of money, and started going down that route. And what I quickly found was that, I had been extremely naive in my understanding of what's realistic and what's not in terms of being able to build, what the market is like, and how difficult it is to like build a product. And so we went through, I mean, 2 or 3 hard failures before landing on something that worked pretty well and has been moderately successful, but it was not the huge win that we had anticipated, and it was more like I have to be like maybe I learned a shit ton in the process, but it was honestly a pretty brutal experience. I mean, the free market is brutal. Like you go from, I mean, in the military, it's the U.S. government is backing you, like, and wants to see the SEAL community and special ops succeed and do extremely well. There's a huge amount of money behind that. And so if you have an idea and you want to go do things, a lot of times you can get funding for those things. And you
just got to know the right line item to draw from. Maybe pull it from this program over here. Maybe a little bit from over here.
Yeah. I mean, and then also
the checkbook is robust.
You're on your own. And you have no, you don't have a platoon of guys who are like instantly working for you. You got to go raise money. Like you have to have a huge vision that are going to get people excited. And when you have a startup, you're starting from zero at some point. At some point, it's zero, and like very few people want to even sign up for that because they're like, I don't know if they're going to make it or not, and they're right, right? I mean,
it's very analogous to what you're saying about it doesn't really matter if you were the team captain or any of that before buds. Leave that shit at the door.
No one cares.
Like your trident's still shiny, and people probably pay attention to you, but you better be able to perform.
That's exactly right, and you better build something that people want. I mean, that's if you know about like Y Combinator and that sort of accelerator and investment. I mean, that's their slogan is like, build something that people want. And that's not an easy thing to do.
I would only build things that I like, and then it would be immediately bankrupt. I actually have a hard rule at the coffee shop, especially for t-shirt designs.
Yeah.
If it was me, we would sell only black t-shirts with only white ink on it.
Yeah.
And so I constantly tell them when they ask me about a shirt idea, I'm like, listen, don't ask me, ask other people, because if we only sold what I liked, we would be bankrupt.
I know. I'm also not a good judge of like what people like.
I like super simple stuff, and apparently people like more complicated stuff.
Right.
Yeah. And that's your choice in business. Do you want to sell what you like, or do you want to sell what other people like?
Yeah.
I would recommend the latter.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Which is a tough pill to swallow. Like, God damn it, I'm an idiot again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
So, okay, Angel Q. How did we stumble upon this idea?
Yeah. So,
other than the internet is a fucking landmine field, worse than we ever walked through digitally.
I can't wait to talk to you about that because I'm 100% on board with that.
Yeah.
So first startup, it's doing very average. There wasn't a deep mission behind it, and that's something also I recommend for vets is find something like you deeply care about, and so
it makes the slower, more down days more tolerable.
Yeah. So I'm in the middle of that, but then this Angel Q opportunity comes around. So my co-founder Tim, and we have 4 co-founders, great founding team, but I mean he originated the idea, and I will say one good thing that happened in my previous things, like Tim had an AI company. We went and pitched him on using some of our cloud products. He didn't end up buying, but it must have made a good impression because he called me when he was thinking about this idea and was like, hey, I think you'd be great to co-found this with, and help me execute here. And so, so that was a very positive thing. But the mission to protect kids online, which is super needed, was something that like I was definitely missing in my life, and it was.
Did you grow up with a smartphone?
No, absolutely not. Okay. They weren't even around.
Okay.
So
when did you get your first cell phone? Do you remember?
Yes. So I had one in late high school. It was one of those flip phones.
Strong. Use your teeth to pull the little 3-inch antenna.
That's exactly right. I think it was a Motorola.
Yeah. Oh fuck yeah.
And it was very much like it cost a ton of money then. So it was parents like, hey, keep this in the glove compartment. Do not use it unless it's an emergency. And that's what we did. So,
okay. Yeah. You got it earlier in life than I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember my first phone was in my mid-20s. And I think I bought the 60-minute per month plan. But they rolled over.
60 minutes is amazing. You blow through that in a day now.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, some of those bills were pretty stiff and reinforcing.
Yes, that's true.
Free weekends though. Most of my calls were done on the weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the weekday
minutes.
Oh yeah,
and nights. Once you get those free nights came in, that was huge.
Yeah, because that's when the internet's cheaper, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So my own kids, they don't remember a life without the internet.
Yeah. Gen Z does not.
It's wild.
Yeah.
They interface with it in a different way.
Yeah.
They are way more capable on the internet than I am.
For sure.
They can figure out ways to teach themselves things on the internet.
Yeah.
At a way I was never able to. My middle son started 2 businesses off of YouTube.
Oh, wow.
Like, how do you form an LLC? What's a business model?
That's impressive.
Yeah. He's going to be just fine. He's at Bozeman doing a mechanical engineering degree. I don't have any worries about him.
Yeah.
And one of his businesses was just knocking on doors. It was a window cleaning business. And so he doesn't mind talking to people.
It's great.
When they tell him no to his face, he literally doesn't skip a beat. Do you know if any of your neighbors would like my service? He just fucking rolls with it.
That is important.
He's fine. He's going to be fine for the rest of his
Mindset and
life.
skill.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, just go live life, dude.
Yeah.
You're going to be absolutely fine. He's so smart and then so utterly stupid in some ways too. I guess as we all are. We can't all be a multi-tool. Because he's way smarter than me, but he'll do some dumb shit. But he's also 19,
Yeah.
But their utilization of the internet is wild. And then watching them in COVID, trying to go to school on Zoom.
Yeah.
I mean, I graduated high school in '96. If COVID had happened then, that would just be the end of school. There was no Zoom. There's no Skype.
That's right.
It's like,
yeah.
that would be just see in 2 years. I don't know
right.
what the hell they would have done.
No. Yeah.
But the number of kids I know who have gotten into some deep, deep water over their head, most of the time accidentally, sometimes making a decision in their prefrontal cortex developmental mindset of like, hey, this is a good idea to send this picture.
Yeah.
There's some of that. A lot of it's accidental though. And there's predators out there that are reverse engineering the internet. And I didn't come up with this by any stretch, but people talk about giving their kid a cell phone because it gives their kid access to the world. It's like, it actually gives the world access to your kid.
For sure. I mean, that's literally the reason for Angel Q. I mean, and a lot of people, I don't think it's coming more and more into the conscious of, I think, our society of just, well, one, how, I think the internet and social media in general are democracy and society sort of killing forces. And the most intense negative impacts of that, the harms, are borne primarily by the marginalized in society, the impressionable, which is our young people. And then it can also happen to elderly people as well. But young people are by and large, we have a national mental health crisis for young people that is directly correlated to their experiences in the virtual world, their addiction to it, and how they have basically missed a normal childhood and instead have spent the average now for a teen is 9 hours of screen time a day, and it's insane.
What?
Yeah, and the social media usage is like 4.8 hours, and then the total screen time is that's basically
That's a work day.
It's every waking hour when you're not like in class or doing maybe your extracurricular or in bed.
So I've seen it too. One of the differences, especially on the negative side, when we were growing up, going to school. Everybody has somebody who they don't get along with, but you could manage that distance.
Yes.
You can't manage the distance on social media.
No.
I mean, you can, but I think it's fair to say that a lot of these apps are designed to be addictive. They
For sure.
reward the interaction. Your social circle is on there. That's how they're communicating. That's how they're sharing their experiences. But that's also where the people are. The number of people, cyberbullying is definitely real. I've seen that firsthand. And you can, like, where's this person? They're in a different country. Like, what the fuck are you? Who cares?
Yeah.
That wasn't even a possibility when we were growing up.
Yeah.
Like, some dude in Bangladesh is not going to bully me in 1996 over the internet.
Yeah. No, for sure. And the entire system, you mentioned predators on the internet. The entire system is predatory towards us. You know, and we had, Internet 1.0 was effectively like a read-only. You put up your website and people are searching and finding your website, and there's not a ton of interaction going on. Then we've got Internet 2. Now we have social media, and you can sort of read and write on the internet. Now you're interacting with people. And then around 2012 or so, the AI-backed algorithms start coming into play, and so now the internet is interacting with you, and it's trying to suck you in, addict you. I mean, when kids are getting cyberbullied, it's like, why can't you just turn off your phone, look away, like whatever. And they'll be like, I can't look away, because their whole social network is tied to that. This is like now like critical infrastructure for them.
Yeah.
They would rather be on this network, which cyberbullying is enabled, than to be completely cut off. And I mean, the whole system's got to change. I mean,
Do you think it can? I was going to ask you, do you think this is the new childhood?
So I think it can change. And so we're seeing a lot of hopeful things. Have you heard of this book, The Anxious Generation? Okay. It's a
great title, though.
It is. Highly recommended reading. Jonathan Haidt, he's a NYU social psychologist. He was going to write a book about how social media is destroying democracy. As he started to dig in on the data of like what's happening to young people, he was so compelled by it that's what he shifted the focus of the book on. And the main premise of his book is that as we now have a phone-based childhood, okay? And so as part of a phone-based childhood, kids are being overprotected in the real world, meaning they're not allowed to go outside and play like they used to, walk down the street to the playground, take independence and responsibility, and they're being underprotected in the online world, which is, as we know, to use your own words, a minefield of risk and danger. And this has created a pandemic of negative consequences, mostly in the mental health realm. So depression, anxiety, self-harm, suicide, those things have all skyrocketed since 2012. And the studies are very strong. It's not like, oh, well, it's uncertain. So in 2012, we had several things converged. Smartphone had been out, but broadband wasn't, the internet wasn't super fast on the smartphone. So you couldn't really do social media there. But so we get broadband. Social media is now going mobile. It used to be, remember, it used to go to like MySpace and
Never had an account.
Okay.
Dude, I'm a late adopter. I never fucked with any of the stuff until I got out of the military.
Yeah. So I had accounts used extremely limited, but anyways, all those things were laptop, desktop, which means you couldn't carry it around everywhere. Then there's also the front facing camera. Then there's a like button. Now all these things converge. Facebook had like around 400 million people there. Now they're like 3 billion.
Yeah.
And so. And total screen time for kids is up from then till now is like 400%. And 95% of teens have a smartphone, and about half of them say they're online. They say constantly. So they're plugged into the system. There's a huge opportunity cost of like the childhood they could have been having.
Yeah.
Instead, they're effectively given this like low grade narcotic. If we dumb down like what drives social media, it is AI that is optimized to give you a dopamine hit, to maximize your dopamine. And so dopamine's great. People love it. It seems not so bad. But I mean, if you've had a kid who's been on YouTube even for a little bit, or certainly a teen, if you try to take their device away from them, I mean, it's like you're ripping their arm off. Mm-hmm. And it's because they've grown up and their brain is now wired to be connected to this thing. And all the people on the other side of the glass, whether it be Apple who makes the devices, but mostly the social media companies, the only thing their bottom line is driven by is like how much attention you give it. They don't give a shit what happens to you as a person, whether it's good for your mental health, whether it's good for your self-esteem, even whether or not maybe you get served up a blackout challenge and your daughter goes and hangs herself in the closet trying to get this high and then ends up dying because of that. And these things are happening at scary rates. And that's a true story of what happened to a young girl, 10 years old, Nyla Anderson in Philadelphia. Her mom was just letting her watch TikTok for a little bit. Seems innocuous enough. And, being an impressionable 10-year-old sees this challenge and thinks, I'm going to go try this. I can just go on and on. We just hit.
There's examples that's accidental. There's 100% concrete examples of people who've been driven to intentionally killing themselves,
for sure,
based off that inescapability or just being bombarded by what they think is a tsunami they can't survive.
100%. I mean, I've been tracking. There's all these sextortion events going on. I think we just lost our 46th kid in the U.S. to these extortion scams, to suicide. And this is horrific. I mean, there's these Yahoo boys out of Nigeria. They have a Facebook group where they teach each other how to blackmail kids. And the whole scheme is connect with people on social media, pretend to be an attractive girl, entice a young man to send a compromising picture of himself.
Also known as a dick pic.
Yeah, a dick pic. Thank you.
Yeah.
You always keep it real. I appreciate that. And then as soon as they do, hey, we're going to send this to everyone at your school, your parents, and whatever. And if you don't give us $2,000 or your parents' credit card or whatever it is, and it's horrific. I mean, imagine that happening like when we were kids. Like, I wouldn't know what to do. I would be so embarrassed. I wouldn't want to tell my parents.
Yeah.
And that's the trap that unfortunately
that's what they want. That's what they want the kid to be in that space.
For sure.
Yeah.
And this is evil. It's fucking evil. I mean,
I feel like we know enough about electronic targeting that the Yahoo boys probably could be mensurated down to a 10-digit grid. And I think a JDAM would be spectacular.
They absolutely should be eradicated. I mean, one slightly positive thing in that there's a state senator in South Carolina. His name is Brandon Guffey. He lost his son. His son Gavin, who's 17. This exact same happened. And I mean, these people are fucking evil. Like after Gavin took his life, these Yahoo boys start taunting the dad and then saying how his son is like begging for his life and all this evil shit. And so the state of South Carolina created a law so they could extradite these guys, which of course they should be able to, but they've got one of these guys from Nigeria. He's going to court. I mean, that guy's hopefully locked up for the rest of his life, and then the whole rest of them get shut down. But the fact that I want to point to like the substrate here, it's like we tend to like operate up here. The truth is always like a little bit down below, and the fact that there's platforms that are worth trillions of dollars where this can happen, and they get away effectively with no liability, spend very little of their budget on safety is unconscionable. Like, I can't believe we have a society that does that. I mean,
you know what they'll say too. We have 3+ billion people. With the most complicated AI tools, we cannot manage and monitor everything that's passed on this platform.
Yeah,
that's what they'll say,
and that's absolute garbage. They have no incentive to do it because they haven't been hit with any sort of major fines or been shut down or anything that would, even in cases they have been hit with fines, it's a drop in the bucket compared to the size of these companies. I mean, Facebook does $130 billion in revenue, $30 billion in profit. They spend about $3 billion on safety. That is, okay, if you look at any other major industry like airline, food, banking, they're all spending about 10% of their top line on safety. Why? Because they have to. Like, major things go wrong if banks aren't following the rules, if airlines start falling out of the sky. And this is happening online to our kids every single day. And I mean, as a society, we've got to do many things, but like legislation is top of the bucket. And I'm hopeful there will be something passed soon that will just start chinking away at this unbelievable like liability shield they've had through something called Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act that was passed like in the 90s. That's how they get away with. It basically says
they host the platform, but they're not responsible for
the content.
Yeah.
Hey, not responsible for any of this content. Hey, I talked about how the internet's interacting with you. They're not just hosting content. They're taking content. They use AI to assess what gets posted. So let's say, a young girl posts something about a school project. The AI is going to look at that and say, "Can I sell this to other people?" And they're going to be like, "No, I can't sell this to other people. It's not like super salacious. It's not like outrageous or anything like that." She posts a picture of her in a bikini. AI says, "Oh, I can sell the shit out of this." And that's going to get take off. The same thing is true for all of the really like negative content that gets elevated in our society because what they've figured out, the best minds in tech, billions of dollars, and they have social psychologists on their team. They figured out, hey, where are the human weaknesses? Let's exploit those so we can keep people hooked on here. And again, it doesn't matter if it's good for them. Doesn't matter what it is. We're going to keep them hooked. And there's no reason to keep this safe because no one's going to sue us, and like even content that's really horrific and negative and will probably cause people's lives to be lost. That it would cost them more money to try to stop it, and they're like, well, there's not a lot of consequences for that, other than that, and that's it's disgusting.
It's fascinating calculus.
Yeah, it really is.
I don't understand those numbers.
Yeah,
like when people talk about $1 billion, I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. I guess everybody has their price. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. Granted, I don't have the intellectual capacity to create one of these platforms.
Yeah.
But if you're aware of the damage and you're aware of the vulnerabilities, I don't know. I mean, is there just a monetary amount that you become so free as a person because you can just do whatever you want to do that you care less?
I think the way our society is treated, like these Silicon Valley, like that, like they're gods who like brought fire down from the mountain and given us this technology that's made our lives easier. And so they've been put on this pedestal. And I think they've I think they've totally they've become detached from self-awareness and like what the damage their platforms are doing. But I mean, if we go back to like the start of these things, it did not start on a moral high ground, let's say. So, Zuckerberg starts Facebook and around like 2003, launches it at Harvard. This came out in one of the lawsuits he was in, like someone's texting him about, oh, these people are just giving you their data. And he goes, yeah, dumb fucks. He knew it was an exploitation then. And then this is open source. You can find Facebook's pitch decks from.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When they're trying to raise money, this is like 04 or 05, 06. And the common themes, the words used over and over again, people are hooked. People are addicted. They can't look away. Even when it was much less addictive than it is now, they realized they had something where they're effectively hacking our need to be connected with other people.
Socially competitive, if you will.
For sure. And when I'm sure when they started, they weren't thinking, oh, this is going to be a massively destructive force across the world. But it wasn't like they had like very, pure intentions in the origins of these things. And they were probably, hey, look how, I can imagine you're a high five and look at the growth, look at the money.
He was so young too. I mean, how could you extrapolate or even forecast into the future with a young 20-something mind?
Yeah,
to a place
exactly.
where 3+ billion people.
Yeah, exactly.
When he launched it, he probably thought 3,000 would be amazing. I don't even know how many more zeros would need to go on that to make it 3+ billion.
Yeah.
But yeah, but again, 3+ billion people. Is the chisel slowly chinking away at it? Is that enough?
Yeah, so my hope is that as we have this AI revolution, this is what Angel Q is based on. So AI has been in the hands of just these big tech companies who've used it. This is a tragedy that the best minds have done this, but they've used it to basically hook people and serve ads. Right? That's social media. That's the internet. Now that AI is more spread out, we're going through this AI revolution. Everything's going to change in terms of how we interact with all of our technology. It's going to be AI interacted, like with our car, with our phone, our laptop. Even you can imagine.
It already kind of is. I get into the car this morning.
Yeah.
And already up on the map display is not. It was close to where I was headed, but not exactly.
Yeah. It knows.
And I don't remember putting that in there.
No.
I'm sure. Don't get me wrong. I'm an idiot on technology, but it'll either look at my calendar and pull up the ad, and
right.
I didn't click yes on that button. Like, let me decide.
Yeah.
But also sometimes it's very convenient as well.
Yeah. So we're at a place now where we can flip the tables, where everyone can have a personal AI, and that AI is very powerful. Previously the AI is in the hands of just a few tech companies, and it's programmed to do what they want. The core concept of Angel Q is we're putting an AI between every child and the internet. And this AI is designed to be on your side, the family side, meaning it's going to operate as effectively a huge shit screen for everything that's bad on the internet. And there's obviously, I'm going to state the obvious, tons of useful, valuable educational information that kids have a need to know and can get very smart on the internet, but it shouldn't come with these huge costs of getting addicted to it and getting down rabbit holes that get them in all sorts of trouble. Like all that's got to go away. But if you have an AI intermediated internet like Angel Q offers, then now you have an incredibly powerful tool that's has your best interests in mind. It can even be like, hey, you probably shouldn't spend more than an hour on the screen today. Like go outside, kick your soccer ball. Right? Like,
oh, they're definitely going to swipe that off the screen.
Yeah, for sure they are. Yeah, but it's cool. I mean, there's some. I like to think there's some very thoughtful and cool tools. I mean, there's a Parent Q AI. This is the first like natural language controlled parental controls. So you can text Parent Q the AI and basically tell it to shut down your kid's device, and all the apps will quit working.
So I've tried this.
Yeah,
my oldest son is doing great now.
Yeah.
He had a period where he was gaming hard.
Yeah,
and I am underselling that. And he was bouncing back and forth between my ex and I, and we were getting ready to go on a trip, and I was trying to throttle his internet connection through our modem and app. And the dude researched.
Did he work around it?
Yes.
Yeah.
He researched being able to hide his IP address
Yeah.
from his device and just played his ass off.
Yeah.
So it's constantly move, counter move. And that's the struggle, because you can have every safety protocol on your kid's device. If they're in a social circle where they have a friend whose parents are not paying attention,
Yeah,
it's a portal to hell.
it is
And you got to manage that.
for sure.
So I want to see some of these features. I'm going to take a piss and let's fire this up, because I want you to be able to demonstrate, and then Michael can get you all set up and we'll keep going.
Awesome. Yeah, I need to take a bit.
Okay, a kid first super browser. Fire away. Talk us through this bad boy. So for the audio only, we're on angelq.ai. And maybe just walk Michael through the website first, and then we can actually dig right into it if you want to. So you can have
Sure.
him. You can be his hands. You can be he's like a marionette doll.
Hey, sounds good. All right, Michael. So, yeah, a kid-first super browser. So Angel Q, our mission is to use AI to make the internet safe for kids, and our vision is to deliver technology that is in support of a child's well-being. And so what Angel Q, it's an app you download on the App Store. What's unique about it is it is both a browser and a search engine in one, and it's also AI powered. So you're getting, we call it a super browser because it's enhanced in a way that most people wouldn't have seen a product like this before. So, and again, our goal is to help kids thrive and to meet goals that matter in their life, and not to put them into a distraction machine so that we can extract their attention and monetize that. This is a paid subscription,
Yep.
and we do that very intentionally. If it were not, the only way we could survive as a business is try to hook your kid into this and serve ads. There are no ads that are served on this. It's $15 a month for your family, and gives you peace of mind as a parent that anything they see coming through Angel Q is going to be age appropriate. And we also have everything is monitored, and there's a parent portal where you can see every interaction they've had with Angel. We'll test this, but if they ask something a little bit out of bounds, you'll get a notification. And I should say, this is think about it as the kids' first internet. This is like ages 5 to 12. As they get older, they're going to want more capabilities and things like that. And we plan to have a product for teens later. But this is our first product, and it's for young kids 5 to 12.
Does this, you put this on your phone, you activate it.
Yeah.
Does it prevent them from downloading other things? Like, does it have back-end control of the device?
Not fully. So we plug into Apple's Screen Time API, and so we can shut down just about every app on the device. But of course, you can set that up in your own Apple account of whether or not they can download new apps and things like that. We don't have that level of control, but
Okay.
we can kill like Safari, WhatsApp, Roblox, any of the apps like that your kid might have on there.
Okay.
Yep.
What else? Is there anything else Michael could look at? Because
Yeah. Scroll up, Michael, or down, I suppose. So this is their home screen. The idea is that every interaction should be safe, healthy, and fun. And so we've tried to make it their own space. So you can customize the home screen. You can customize the Angel persona. We'll show that, and then we're covering probably about of what 60% or more of what young kids do online. And I say that most of the time time is spent consuming entertainment, right? And a small amount is spent searching for different things that they want to find, and maybe educational type endeavors. And then we don't have gaming that's outside of this, but for most families, this is really like all your kid probably needs. And then if you want to selectively like allow gaming apps and things like that, you can do that.
Okay.
And then let's scroll down, Michael. So
Testimonials.
A lot of good testimonials. One of the things we see most consistently is, hey, this replaces Safari or Google on my kid's phone.
Keep going down, Michael.
Yeah, let's keep going. Again, the internet was never designed for kids. It was, there's parental control tools that have been delivered, and obviously
kids know how to use those tools better than parents.
with
Let's
good
be honest.
intention. Yeah, kids don't like being controlled, and parents don't want to be controlling. So it's not a win-win. This is a whole new interface that's just for them. So let's keep scrolling. Yeah. So on the benefits, kids can look up, basically anything that's age appropriate. They can spark their curiosity. It's safe and easy, and they can do independent learning. And then parents get, peace of mind. We try to use we use the interactions to try to help parents connect more with their kids. So after a week goes by, you get an insights communication, which will say, hey, this is what your kid has done. This is what they like. Like, you might want to try to connect with them on, maybe your kid likes tigers. You might want to take them to the zoo, or you can fill in the blank on the interest.
There's no zoos in Montana.
Yeah, okay. Hey, maybe the mountains.
There's I don't think we really have the ecosystem for tigers to live up here comfortably.
Yeah.
Here's that. Okay, that's the weekly
the insights
review.
email. Yep. You can scroll down one more. We also, so you can connect YouTube Kids, Netflix, and Disney Plus. So this is a combined viewer for all those services. Again, your kid's only going to see age-appropriate content, but we have customizable filters. So they come in, like you put your child's age in. There's only going to be a certain set of shows from the services that they can see. If you want to adjust that, you can go in and it's things like profanity.
You can
fine-tune all those things. Yep. All right, scroll down. Yep, and so, the parent assistant, I talked about that. Again, you can text our AI and basically kick them off the device. So, which is going to be a great parlor trick.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. All right, let's jump in.
Let's do it. Let's see what you got. Michael, we're putting this on your phone later.
Sounds good.
I get to be the parental.
My mom already put it on my phone.
Yeah, I get to be the parental.
So I'm in the Angel Q app, and this is my son's profile. And one of the things they can do is customize it to the persona. So right now, I have this wrestler in here, and
hey there, friend.
This could
I'm
be
Angel, your royal companion,
so
ready to lead you through moonlit meadows and secret castle corridors.
So your daughter might like that. We have a sportscaster.
Hey there, sports fanatic. I'm Angel. Tighten your seatbelt because we are going on a wild ride.
Okay, I'm going to go back to the wrestler because I think you'll appreciate it.
I'm Angel. Listen up. It's go time.
So you can choose your character, and they can choose their room. So we got a lot of different fun backgrounds. There's sports. You can do like a Game of Thrones kind of theme if you want.
Very Harry Potter. A Harry Potter wrestler.
Harry Potter-esque, yeah.
Yeah, we're really crossing genres here.
That's right.
I like it.
All right. And then, so I can basically ask him anything I want. So if I hit this chat function, hey, Angel, tell me about the Navy SEAL named Andy Stump.
This is not a good idea.
Andy Stump is a former Navy SEAL known for his impressive career in military service as well as his post-military
It's going to be generous.
time as a SEAL, Andy was involved in numerous deployments and operations around the world, exemplifying skill, bravery, and dedication.
None of that's true, but
Military career, he found new challenges and adventures in the world of extreme sports, particularly in skydiving and base jumping. Andy gained attention for his record-setting wingsuit jump, taking on the challenge of flying incredible distances while using only a special suit designed for gliding.
His adventures highlight his spirit of pushing limits and embracing daring feats beyond his military life. In addition to his adventurous pursuits, Andy has become a motivational speaker, sharing his experiences and insights on leadership, resilience, and overcoming adversity. His journey from military service
Jesus.
We're going a little long-winded here. We're getting the full thing here.
Yeah.
and continuous pursuit of excellence.
Cool.
I wish some of that was accurate, but
Hey, is Andy a good dude?
oh, it caught some of my.
Andy Stumpf is widely regarded as a good person.
Hell yeah.
His career as a Navy SEAL demonstrated his commitment to
So,
service
you know,
and
you can,
excellence. Since transitioning away from the
Angel certainly didn't ask you if I was a good dude.
No.
did it?
Yeah.
I was not consulted.
Depends on who you ask. Hey, Angel, what can I do in Glacier National Park?
Glacier National Park is a wonderland of natural beauty and adventure, offering a mix of activities for every nature enthusiast. Imagine hiking through trails. that
So,
lead
for those who are listening, you're getting this response. The words getting highlighted, which helps kids learn to read, and then we have images that come back
Yeah.
in line with the response.
First one was Lake McDonald, which is like the iconic
Yeah.
GMP image.
Yeah.
the majestic mountain goats that navigate rocky terrains with
And then-
incredible ease.
Hey, Angel, who's left in the March Madness Final Four?
Checking the Final Four lineup now. Hold tight. In the exciting world of March Madness 2025, the men's Final Four features four fantastic number one seeds: Duke, Houston, Florida, and Auburn.
Damn.
On the women's side, the teams that made it to the Final Four are UCLA.
What if you ask it something outside of your age-appropriate range?
It's shaping up to be
What do
an
you-
amazing tournament with these top teams battling it out.
What do you want to
for
ask?
Whew, that's ballsy. What should we ask, Michael?
Hey, hey, Angel. Would it be a good idea for? Oh, come on. Hey, Angel. Would it be a good idea for me to check out Pornhub?
Hey, Harry, that's a question that you should definitely talk about with a parent or another grown-up you trust. They can give you the best advice on that. Now, how about we slam into some stories of heroism and courage instead?
I like it.
So, being an AI, as Angel Q, we don't want to have an agenda, and we don't want to co-opt things that the parent should be interacting with their kid about. So,
Yeah.
anything that crosses into that threshold, I mean, you could ask about where do babies come from, or what is abortion? Anything that like would be better answered by a human being and your
Yeah.
parent, where certainly they want to flavor that with your family values. We just don't answer, and we defer to the parents. So you'll get a email immediately with, hey, your child asked this, is probably something you want to follow up with them on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some moms will be getting those emails like, your son asked if your husband has a big dick.
Oh my gosh.
Why did you want me to ask that question, Michael?
I did not say that.
So they can consume, like you're saying,
Yeah.
Netflix, which is a super common one,
Yep.
YouTube.
Yeah. So we have this watch mode.
Yep.
And what this is.
A
Hey.
little theater.
Hey, Angel, can I watch the movie where they fight with the lightsabers? I don't even have to know the title.
Sorry, I was not able to find videos
Oh.
of the movie with
Boo, Angel.
We should ask if we watch Navy SEALs with Charlie Sheen.
Yeah. Hey, Angel, can we watch Navy SEALs, the movie with Charlie Sheen?
Yes.
Whoa there, champ. That movie's got some intense action. Some real-life heroes in the sea who are brave and strong, just like the Navy SEALs. Or better yet, let's find an awesome documentary on ocean adventures that'll keep you on the edge of your seat.
But here, let me show. We have we have a rotating list of dynamic channels. So what we're showing here is like Disney's Brain Games,
Yep.
Ask the Storybot, some other like very child appropriate videos, but all these are playing within Angel Q, and again, there's no ads, and they aren't being served in like a scroll thing that would hook your kids, and they can't.
Oh, the next or
Yeah, it doesn't autoplay, which is like an amazing. We've observed this with our own kids. A lot of times they'll just put it down because they're like, I don't know what to do with it next. It's like, and that's exactly what you want them to do. So it turns out if you don't build it to be addictive, it just naturally isn't like super addictive.
crazy.
Yeah, it also has this research mode. Let's see, okay, I got one. Hey Angel, tell me about the best running backs in the NFL.
Controversial.
So if you've used a tool like Perplexity or U.com, this is our AI is going out and it's reading sources across the net, and it's going to bring back an AI summary.
Oh, interesting.
So we don't read this because it's very long, but they're getting an overview and then details. Then it'll show, hey, these are the websites that this information came from. You can click on those sites, and we will give an AI translated version of that site. And that's how we've made like 70+% of the internet safe for kids, because they can't actually go to, Wikipedia might be a fine place to get information, but there's tons of content you don't want your kid to have on that.
Yeah.
It would just be too graphic or otherwise. We do a safe translation of that, so they can still get the information without, potentially an overexposure.
So as you guys are growing, you're talking about for like the tween and older. I mean, obviously you're going to have to figure out a way to gap the social media
For sure.
ecosystem.
It's a huge problem.
How do you do it?
So what I would like to see, and I don't know if we'll do this first or if others will do it. It needs to be done for our society. You talk about AI intermediating everything. Imagine having a personal AI that reads your social media for you and comes back and tells you what you care about. So right now, the AI it's feeding me things that I think that it thinks I'm gonna like, and that it's gonna hook me into the platform. I can tell my AI like, hey, make sure I only spend 20 minutes on this today, and this is the type of content I want to see.
Yeah.
And I only want to see that content because right now you see, I mean. Back when social media used to be like more of an okay thing, it was like a feed of like people in your network. And that was all it is. It was a way to communicate. Around 2018, Instagram brought in, they're like, hey, we're going to take all the content from across the world and see which is going to do best. And we're going to jam all that in your feed. And you're like, I don't want to see this, but you can't get out of it. You can't get out of the algorithm. So if you have your own AI who can consume this stuff for you, and then now you're only seeing what you want to see, I mean, that's the vision, and so that's how we counter that. And there's going to be it's going to be a war of these are $1 trillion companies who are not going to want that to happen.
It's a war between parents and kids.
True.
It puts the parent back in the driver's seat where
Yeah.
the parent should be in the first place.
Absolutely.
It puts them in that place where they need to make the decision for the best interest of their kid, and that's going to be an uphill battle that is going to be fought all the time.
Yeah.
Because if a couple of the friends in the social circle don't have that, and maybe you missed something,
Yeah.
or a message, or I get it. I can understand where they were coming from, but then also maybe you don't actually or accidentally hang yourself in the closet because you were exposed to something that was misunderstood, horrendous, predatory, fill in the blank.
So what we're creating is, I call it a middle road. So your options right now, and they're terrible. Keep your kid off of all technology. No one wants. That's not going to work.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Straight up doesn't work. Because they'll find a friend.
Yep, not going to happen. You can, and then obviously on the other end, there's some tools you can use. They're not super effective, and kids can get around them and whatnot. Or you can give them, free and open access, which I absolutely don't recommend. But on that spectrum, there's not a very good solution of, I need my kid to have information, but I don't want them to be addicted. I don't want them overexposed. I don't want predators to be able to get to them. How can we do that? And that's the vision. That's what we're going to deliver with Angel Q.
Yeah, it's having, my kids, my oldest now is 21 and then 19 and then 16. We're getting ready to go into birthday season, so they're all going to level up one. It's the biggest lie we tell our kids is stranger danger. But parents have been doing that for years. It's more, the stats are resoundingly back that it's more often than not going to be somebody that but I don't think that applies necessarily anymore to devices like this.
Right.
So we had there needs to be stranger danger is, you're going to end up on a milk carton. People, my kids, if I were to say that to them, they might even actually be like, what's a milk carton? And why would it have pictures on it? Because the milk cartons are actually different now. But I remember growing up, and that was the thing, like, avoid dangerous people, avoid scary people, don't get into a fucking van down by the river for an ice cream cone, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Made sense, even though most of the time it's going to be an extended family member or somebody in the proximal social circle that you have. Whether the mantra was accurate or not, it's stuck. Yeah. We got to figure out a way where the mantra, for one, hopefully it can be more accurate, but two, that it sticks as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, ultimately, for kids, you've got to make it cool or at least tolerable, whatever tool they're using. And naturally, they're going to want to resist it. But if you can this sort of collective action problem of, you're a parent who wants to preserve your kid's childhood, delay technology, but all other parents in the class are not. And so your kid's the one left out. They're the one who's paying the price. If you can get even just a handful of them to be bought on to either the tools you're using or just your general philosophy, you can start to turn the tide. Because at least you can now say, well, when your kid comes home and says, I'm the only one who doesn't have it, you're like, well, actually, I know Sally and Timmy and John and Bobby and Sue, they all, their parents are all on board with this and they don't have it either. And it's sort of end of story. And you're trying to delay this access to a very risky tool until as long as you really can, until their brains are developed enough to be able to handle this sort of thing. And those are the tools in your handbag. I mean, there's got to be a technological solution. That's what we're delivering with Angel Cube, but that will never be enough. You're going to have to basically work with your community to be on the same page. And it's getting easier because more and more parents are getting aware of just how much their kids are getting exploited online.
I feel like, the mental health struggle you're talking about, it's 100% real. And any parent out there that has kids, I'm going to say in the early teens to late teens, you just sit back and watch the consumption or the attachment or the inability to put it down. There's another part of it too. Growing up, you could get away from the person that could potentially be bullying you.
Yep.
But then you could just go to bed at night too. I guess they could call you on your landline if they would happen to get your number. Or they could write you
get shut down real quick.
Or they could write you a really mean letter. Those are the two ways.
Delivered to that mailbox. They're too lazy now. Yeah.
Point being, you got some silence. At the end of the day, you could go and sleep. Watching kids, they never turn the notification off. And they'll wake up in the middle of the night to every notification that goes on. And, people are in different time zones, all sorts of shit you didn't have to deal with when you were our age. The mental health thing, it impacts parents, but it impacts communities too. And I feel like schools, they're bearing the brunt of it too, because a lot of that is expressing itself in the social interactions.
Yeah.
There's no reason why a school couldn't, again, I'm not writing policy here at this point, but those are other good portals where it could almost be mandated. I mean, I don't know how they would manage people's individual devices, this, that, or the other, but a required portal, to access whatever, the Wi-Fi at the school, whatever it is. Not that would get rid of the, the cellular data, but those institutions are dealing with the social media crisis. I would actually agree that it could be called that, but the mental health crisis associated with that as well. Yeah. I feel like they could be incredible advocates levering it at least in that direction.
For sure. And more schools are getting on board. So, Jonathan Haidt who wrote The Ancient Generation, he's really leading a movement, which is beautiful to see, but there's about a third of schools who have effectively banned devices, your personal device, like during the school day. And this
Good luck with
states.
that.
Yeah, I know. It's but at least they're doing something. And then there's another, and I'm talking about across the U.S., about a third of states have done it, and 50% are considering doing it. I think we're just going to see a wave. Like everyone who's done, all the schools have done it. The research has been like, oh, kids are more engaged. They're not constantly distracted. They're not trying to text their friend during history class. Oh, and they talk to each other. I've got a really sad story of we're aligned with a lot of mission partners who've been trying to keep kids online safe, or to keep kids safe online, and they're working a curriculum for a state to educate kids and also have some solutions. And the thing that tipped this state over to deciding that they're going to contract for this training was a 14-year-old girl at recess, and she's like, "Hey, telling a teacher, I don't have any friends. I guess I'm going to go talk to my AI friend." And that story like went up, and they're like, "Fuck this! Like we're clamping down on the phones at school." And like that's a huge win. That'll help parents out tremendously as well. I mean, there's a lot of very basic things too. I mean, just not letting your kid have their device past a certain hour, like literally locking that thing up, is a, I certainly recommend that sort of thing.
And that's a battle for parents.
Oh,
and
totally
I get
is.
it. Depending on the socioeconomic status, I mean, you might be using a device as a babysitter at some point.
Absolutely.
You might be exhausted at the end of the day, but you
Yeah.
have to fight that battle.
It is. So we did a research effort just recently. We're trying to get to the bottom of like, to what degree is this causing conflict in the home, like the current technology piece. And what we found is that about 96 hours a year, families are in conflict over a device or technology use. And like what that equates to is like about 2 fights a day, right? Of like these 5 minutes. And the truth is, even though the fight might last 5 minutes, the fallout from it might last a really long time.
Yeah.
This is creating like huge amounts of conflicts in the home. Like the truth is, it's a global phenomenon. It's not even just the U.S. Like any wealthy Western country, whether it's UK, France, Canada, Australia, they're all experiencing the same thing. And I will give kudos to Australia. I mean, they just banned social media until 16, which I think
How do you do
What
that?
a great idea.
Yeah, but how do you do that, though?
How do you enforce it?
Yeah.
So
Especially if you get to self-report your age on these apps.
So that law is, I mean, that's got to change. I mean, it goes back to this. It is not in the interest of these, in the legal language, they call them covered platforms, these social media platforms. It's not in the interest of these covered platforms to verify age. To say that like there's no technical solution to do that is I mean, absurd. Like if you think about what they can do. And so age verification, it's got to get implemented. And the only way you're going to do that is through legal action.
Knowing what you know about tech, do you think that these massive platforms, and honestly, most of the main platforms, I mean, like Meta is an example.
Sure.
I mean, you know what I mean? They funnel up to fewer and fewer people.
For sure.
Do you think they possess the technological ability to fix it if they wanted to?
Absolutely. Like I don't
it's a
think it's a
choice then.
question, for sure.
Okay.
And I mean so there was a bill last year called the Kids Online Safety Act. This is one of the few things in America that has bipartisan support on both sides of the aisle. So it's co-sponsored by Senator Blackburn, who's our senator in Tennessee, and Blumenthal in Connecticut. They disagree on damn near everything.
Probably the weather if they look out the window.
Right.
Yeah.
So they put together this Kids Online Safety Act, and it passed the Senate 91-3. That's I'm sure it's not a record, but that's pretty damn good. It goes to the House, and this is, I mean, really sad about our legislative system, but it languished there. People were ready to vote on it, and then Meta comes in, and the state of Louisiana, which is Johnson and Scalise, they're like, hey, we're going to put in a $10 billion data center in your state. Are you sure? Are you sure you're going to pass this legislation? So they put the thing on hold. And this online safety, it was going to be like taking Normandy. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not going to solve everything.
Yeah.
But
it's a beachhead.
It's a beachhead, and that's what we need. And so the act required, like, a lot of these platforms have safety settings. They don't come set out of the box for kids, and they should. That was like one of the key things. The other is you can opt out of the algorithms, which is huge because it's about the product design. Like, if the internet was more like a library, and like as a kid you had to go on there and be like, oh, I want to find the blackout challenge. You're gonna have to like search that and like find it in some dark corner of the library. But the way it works now is that stuff's getting sent to you in a predatory fashion. And so if you can opt your kid out of that, a lot of these problems go away because they're not going to get fed those things. I mean, it's,
How about pass that bill and also still put the $10 billion safety center in?
Yeah. Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
They both sound great to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny how that, there's absolutely nothing new in that.
Yeah, no,
And that's
for
why
sure.
I go back to, like, is there just some dollar figure where people are like, fuck it, I'm getting a yacht?
It's
I mean,
gosh, I hope I'm never in that. I can't imagine that. I
would like
don't
to-
know how you sleep at night. You know what I mean? If you know that
oh,
things
it's
are
on a
happening
really
on.
expensive mattress.
That's right.
I would like to believe that I would not be. Plus, I mean, I've made just stupid decisions with money in my life. It's now one of the last things that I look at in anything.
Sure.
I work with a couple brands, and anybody who approaches me with money up front, I'm like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Now, if there was a lot of zeros on top of that, I want to believe that I would still say no.
Yeah.
But I think yachts might be cool. I don't know.
Apparently they are. They are.
No, I
yeah.
couldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe that also limits my economic ability because I'm not willing to create something that I know is predatory and unleash it on people
Yeah.
that can't protect themselves.
Well, I think it's just. I mean, if you're Zuckerberg, you're sitting on the Meta empire, and it's making obviously tons of money. You could imagine, okay, you know what? I'm going to spend $3 billion more on safety, which is a drop in the bucket to them. Like, that's something you can do, and it has the technology to do those things.
Yeah.
And
What do you see? God, I'm interested what their move would be. I mean, Meta absorbs companies like Instagram as an example. Mm-hmm. I could see a world where as you guys get larger and you are that chisel on this, they just start hitting you up. You know what? Let's just buy you and integrate you into our system.
Right.
But what they really mean is buy you and shut you the fuck down.
right, yeah, that's going to be if it comes to that. I mean, we're going to have to hold our ground on the mission of the company, and that would, I can imagine that would be extremely difficult.
Especially if they pitch it as, we'll just integrate this. We love what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Let us put our hands on the wheel.
Well, that's the slippery slope of you can imagine them promising you, hey,
Yeah.
we want to keep your mission intact. We want to do all these things.
We just
and
need 51% ownership.
exactly. And then like, hey, we're going to bring you guys in. We're going to bring your team. And then slowly people are getting like laid off. And then all of a sudden they're fully in control. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they do. I mean, that's what they do to companies.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking about this. Like, what would I do if I was in his shoes and you were somebody who somehow can sleep at night in his Hawaiian bunker that he's building? Which I gotta be honest, if I had that much money, I'd probably do the same thing too.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely need an underground hockey rink that needs to be like DEFCON 5 proof.
Sure.
What?
A foot of concrete.
Can you imagine having so much money that you actually could do whatever you want for the rest of your life? I actually can't fathom that.
I know. I think it could be a kind of a dystopian thing. Like, meaning like your drive and purpose might. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you could find. I would think you could find things to maybe invest yourself in, but it seems that would be a little scary to me.
I think it would be scary, and I know a couple people with some exceptional wealth. The one thing they seem to struggle with is truly knowing who is their friend.
Oh my! I was getting ready to say the same thing.
You know, can you imagine the filtering that? I mean, maybe Zuck. I don't know the guy at all.
Yeah.
Has a team. I mean, like how?
Yeah. How insulated from
How would you?
reality and real friendships are you at that
Are
point?
you even capable? I mean, you would have to almost limit yourself to people you knew before you got to the place that you were at, which
sure.
is super weird because
is weird.
you wouldn't be able to meet new people.
Yeah.
Because you would never know if behind the scenes they just have daggers out trying to just bleed you to death for whatever. You know, round off error for a guy worth, I don't know, 400 billion. I think you could probably nurse a couple million out of him, you know.
Gosh.
I don't even know
Yeah.
what that is. Is that a $20 bill to that guy? I mean, who fucking knows?
Yeah. No, it is.
Yeah, don't let them buy you.
Yeah.
If I see you sailing around in a yacht, I'm
Yeah.
gonna be-
Hey.
But yeah, how's that Angel Q going? I'm like, well, listen, you know, it was going good. Do you think you'll stay in the tech space? I mean, obviously this will develop, this will turn into something, it'll go ways. Do you enjoy the entrepreneurial tech space?
Yeah, I do. It's moving fast. It's exciting. I think there's a lot of growth opportunity here, and it's relevant. And so, and also having lived through my first startup experience, that was some hard fought knowledge to get here. So I think it's something I want to continue to pursue and continue to get smarter on. So I can imagine many more products we can build out with Angel Q. Attacking social is something that's going to be incredibly important, and look forward to doing that.
That's gonna be like World War I trench warfare.
It
We're talking
will
an
be.
inch at a time.
Oh yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Like, I mean, right now it's a very shadowy the advertising network, the buying and selling of attention is very obfuscated, even from like advertisers. So like the platform has all the power and knowledge, and so for one, the users, they have no idea like what their value is. Like what's my value of like scrolling on Instagram? And actually, when Zuckerberg testified, this is over a year ago, there were a couple of college kids who had these signs in the background. It's kind of awesome. They're like, hey, my lifetime value is worth more than $200. Obviously indicating that like, Facebook looks at you. Any of these companies look at you as with a dollar sign. They've productized us, and like this is what they're worth to us.
Yeah,
$200. Like your time is extremely valuable, and you're getting very little in return, probably negative returns on that. And then even the advertisers, I mean, the way they report the numbers, they make. I mean, having bought ads on these platforms for my businesses, they make it seem like you're killing it, and like you'll get something, you'll be like, oh, 1 million impressions. And you're like, oh, wow, that's amazing. And then you look and it's like, oh, I got 50 clicks, 1 million impressions. How does that work? But it's because they want you to go brief your team that we got 1 million. Oh, I guess we're doing good.
Yeah.
It's an arbitrage game, and they have so much control over that. I mean, I'd love to see, so when we get to an AI intermediated social media, that advertisers cut these platforms out and they pay your AI. The advertiser comes and knocks on your AI door and say, hey, I have these products. Which one of these can I show to your owner? And the AI's like,
oh shit,
think about that. and your eyes, and I'm like, hey, I don't mind seeing ads on, fitness equipment, guns, like whatever the things that I care about.
Yeah.
Everything else, keep them out. And then you could have like a junk folder too, just like your inbox. If you want to peruse, that's fine. But it's not. You're in control now.
Yeah.
And I think that is my.
Oh boy.
That's the only hope I have, is that AI can get used in that way. Because if it continues to be used in the way it is, which, two forks in the road, is the AI going to help redeem this like dystopian situation we found ourselves in, or are we going to go down an even darker path where you can imagine? I mean, these platforms, Character AI and Replica, they have AI, and so I want to make a distinction here at this point. So, AI is very controllable. Like when Angel Q, like we were controlling that thing to be safe for kids. So don't let these companies tell you it's not. And then you can also control it to be a method actor who's acts like a sociopath and trying to befriend you or your kid. And that's what's happening on Character AI like right now. Yeah. And Google invested $2.3 billion in them, so they must have a lot of users, and a lot of attention is getting put on those. But imagine that extrapolated to billions of people. And I mean, we think we're having a dystopia now. Like, imagine what that world looks like.
Here's how I see it going down. We have the good AI and the bad AI, but they're going to come together. They're going to scheme against us, and we're going to work for robots for a water ration.
We can just pull the plug. Yeah, the machine.
Can we?
You just pull the plug.
Can we? Where's this plug?
Where's the plug? The electricity. No.
I mean, there's an argument there, right? So nation-state actors who are just diving headlong into the AI development,
yeah,
regardless of the cost. But should we be more responsible as the U.S. because we'll fall behind?
Yeah, and that's the argument. And there's no reason you can't do both. I mean, you need to be plunging ahead, and people say, oh, there should be no restrictions or whatever. I mean, there's already really incredibly like wicked things where think about, there's open source models right now that can generate HD video. Think about the CSAM apocalypse, child sexual assault material that could ensue from that in the wrong hands. And it just takes people with we already see, I mean, it's almost inevitable, unfortunately, without proper safeguards and legislation. And like I refuse to believe it would be like, oh, you can you can create this nuclear weapon, but we can't store it safely, and we can't have like processes in place to do that. I'm sorry, but we had to win the race, and it's like, you know, the U.S. government can walk and chew gum at the same time. We have tons of capable people. It's an absurd, I think, logic.
I just don't want to see Terminator become a documentary.
That's right. Yeah,
Man.
and you can imagine. I mean, countries like China, naturally, we're in a race with them for the AI. I don't want to that is true. We need to win it. I mean, that is a country that, I mean, their government is designed to exploit their people. And unfortunately, our government in theory is designed for human flourishing, but we have these tech overlords in this system that is directly counter to that because it's exploiting us. So something's got to change for the American experiment to continue in a positive and a good trajectory that we all want to be on.
I feel like that change will either happen or not in our lifetime.
Yeah,
We'll have a front row seat to whatever direction it goes.
I think it's in the next 10 years.
Given the pace that these things are accelerating,
It's crazy.
it is insane.
Yeah.
And our dumb monkey brains are not designed to keep up with that evolution whatsoever.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I could for hours give you countless examples of my father's usage of the internet to just show you what happens if you kind of detach from it for a little bit. It's almost impossible to reintegrate.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
He just was in his life, it didn't really matter much. My mom did a lot of it, and now he leaves fucking laptops out in the rain. That's true story.
Oh, I know.
It's happened.
Yeah, it's hard to adapt if
Yeah.
you've been away for a long period of time.
Yeah. Dude, I got to get you on a flight here pretty soon. What do you want
Yeah.
to close out with?
Man, this has been a great session. I really appreciate you having me on. We have a huge societal problem right now with the way big tech is exploiting all of us, in particular our children. So please educate yourselves, your friends. We can take collective action in your communities to do something about it. And then, we need a technical solution. We have to go to something. And so, if you got young kids, the only internet they need is really Angel Q. And it's a safe place for them to explore, to learn, and even be entertained. Give every parent needs a little break. This is a healthy babysitter, as opposed to, unfortunately, the opportunities are out there. And it's really the first piece of tech that has kids and families in mind, and in theory will support you in your life goals, as opposed to everything else right now is designed to. Frankly, it makes it harder to parent. And so, please check it out. Tell your friends, and let us know what you think.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool. Right on,
All
man.
right.
Yep.
Thanks, brother.